cover boundary. At last the time is come, this is a cricketing emergency. Hear this call to arms for every cricket revolutionary. Take up your bats and stumps for the test match insurgency. At first they tried to silence us, but we would not be silenced. They threatened us with lies, so we threatened them with violence. Che Guevara, Sangakkara, Joseph Stalin, Douglas Jardine, Robespierre, Darrell Hare, Vladimir Lenin, O'Brien Kevin, guerrilla cricket. It's not about the winning, it's about how many rules you break. Even in cricket commentary, this is the best advice to take. Pick guerrilla cricket, it's the finest choice you'll ever make. There's so much more to cricket than red counters and a slice of cake. At first they tried to sanitize us and clean up our act, but people like it filthy, and we know that for a fact. Fidel Castro, Lenny Pascoe, Carlos the Jackal, Umar Akmal, Mahatma Gandhi, Grant and Andy, Brendan Behan, Austin Ian, guerrilla cricket. Stick with us, cause you know we're not the kind of thing that you see on the TV and the radio. So vive la revolution. First they tried to buy us, but we would not be bought. Okay, we were, but then we ran away, and we will not be caught. We would not give up the ghost when they left us all for dead. They decapitated us, but we just grew another head. Chairman Mao, Jamie Howe, Ho Chi Minh, Asif Din, Václav Havel, Graham Saville, No Surrender, Percy Fender, Che Guevara, Sangakkara, Joseph Stalin, Douglas Jardine, Robespierre, Darrell Hare, Vladimir Lenin, O'Brien Kevin, guerrilla cricket.
Oceans rise, empires fall, they have seen each other through it all, and when push comes to shove, they will mercilessly grind your bowling attack into the dust to remind you of their love. Mitchell Santana, now a Test centurion, and BJ Watling, now a Test double centurion, put on New Zealand's biggest and longest 7th wicket stand in Test cricket. England still led by 37 runs when New Zealand's 6th wicket fell, but 261 runs and 83.2 overs of BJ and the Mitch left England with no earthly chance of victory and facing a desperate 4-session scrap to save the Test. The first half session went well enough, but Santana surfing the crest of a wave and with a suddenly wearing pitch put paid to that. Dom Sibley poked uncertainly to the keeper, Rory Burns swept ridiculously to short fine leg, and night watchman Jack Leach was caught excellently at forward short leg, albeit not actually off bat or glove. 48 for none became 55 for 3 in the space of 29 balls, and England's sleep became all the more nervous. Hello, wherever in the wide world of cricket you are, and welcome to Guerrilla Cricket's coverage of Day 5 of the first Test between New Zealand and England from the gorgeous Mount Maunganui. I'm emergency host Knuckle Mpande, and I'm to be taking you through the first half an hour of play on ball by ball. I'm joined for the opening salvos of Day 5 by, to my left, reading your social media messages, Steve Jones.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are.
And to my right, playing your jingles, not Fred Titmus.
Hello.
Your prognosis, friend.
Have you finished the monologue?
Yes.
I don't know. This could be some good cricket today. Worth hanging around. Stick with us all night, and let's see what happens. You never know what's going to happen in live sport. It's going
to be back to the wall stuff, isn't it?
You always see something you've never seen before.
Indeed, and as Mog has already mentioned, crucial first hour alert.
Yes, indeed. England trail by 207 runs with 7 first innings wickets remaining. One of those wickets to fall was, of course, the night watchman. But given that it was Jack Leach, and given his performance compared to some of England's more vaunted batters, that might be worse news than it seems.
And in reply to Mog's tweet,
a bunch of you suffer Latham. I put one it'll stew. This will be a crucial first hour. Cliches with a tumble, exaggeration arrive. It will be a crucial first hour. It will be a crucial first hour.
That's a suitably dramatic backdrop to this morning's proceedings. Yeah, Mitchell Santana is in the middle of an over, having taken 3 for 6 in his 8.4 overs thus far. A hell of a day for Mitchell Santana. No New Zealand spinners taken a wicket in New Zealand for the better part of 2 years, and the Mitchell Santana rocks up and takes 3 very quickly. The seamers didn't seem to be that much of a threat late last night, but Santana was certainly getting the ball to rip out of the rough.
I didn't think New Zealand seamers bowled particularly well last night, actually, but anyway, they got 3 back in the hutch, didn't they, at the end of the day, so they'll have been pleased.
Well, 2.5.
2.5.
Well, yeah, I mean, it looks 3 on the scorecard, but when one of them is your number 10, it's not quite a full wicket. I remember a test match that England played in New Zealand, must be in the early mid-90s, where New Zealand were batting comfortably for a draw on the last day, and then England took, I believe, 7 wickets after tea. Tufnell got most of them, if not all of them, and a match that looked like it was a nailed-on draw changed in the last hour and a half. So if anyone's remembers that or can find that and send us a scorecard, I'd be interested to see where it was and exactly what happened, because that occurred to me last night. Not all. I know you said, Knuckle, that a lot of games have been draws between England and New Zealand in New Zealand recently, but historically speaking, from when I remember from long years back, games from New Zealand tended to finish well within 5 days. So
yeah, New Zealand pitches have flattened out considerably from the green nibbly seamers they used to be known for.
And remember the Astle double ton on that that drop-in net pitch, basically, which no bowler could get a ball past the bat.
With Chris Cairns, one of the most overqualified number 11s in history, because he was batting down there because of an injury.
An interesting life Chris Cairns has had.
Yes, indeed. We haven't really, but in terms of this particular wicket we're seeing in Maunganui, it took reminds me of some of those pitches you see in the UAE, where it didn't really seem to do all that much for 4.5 days, and then suddenly all the breaking up happens at once, and the pitch starts offering assistance to the spinners.
Well, that should happen. That's what you want from test match pitches. Maybe not quite as dead early on. I mean, you don't often have the choice of whether that is. You're bound by the conditions and the ground as it is. But you do want the wicket to break up, because that makes Test cricket that much better. Anyway, the players are out there, and this chap is bowling.
I bet you hole out, you better not drive, you better not sweep, I'm telling you why. Santana's balls are drifting around. Santana's balls are drifting around.
Slip, short leg, silly mid-off. Santana continuing his successful over from last night. First ball of day 5 is well wide of off stump. Left alone by the England captain through to the New Zealand wicketkeeper. There is no run.
His voice is high-pitched and ginger hair like a pict, but massive runs he has hit, so there's that. Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root, actually.
In comes Santana, last ball of the over, tossed up outside off stump. Drifts into the, into a region where Joe Root actually has to play. Blocks it on the bounce to Henry Nicholls at silly mid-off. There is no run. Mitchell Santana finishes his 9th over. Terrible over rate. It took about 12 hours. 3 for 6 off 9 he is. England 55 for 3. Who's joined us on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube early on day 5.
Leah comes in with, I now want Knuckle Pandey to read the intro to Conan, and I want Notfred to be swallower by the seas of that narration.
Swallower by the seas? Any more for any more?
Arthur Patricia, evening folks. Knuckle remarkably dapper for a match that could be finished within 2 overs.
Yes, it pleases me to dress this way. From the other end, it is the man who took 4 in New Zealand's first innings.
He's so pretty, that's him Southie. He's so pretty and witty and bright, but him Southie's not as pretty as Kane Williamson.
Southey into England's number 3, who is facing up on 7 of 16 balls. We'll give him a jingle after this delivery, which is fullish and wideish outside off stump, left alone, through to the keeper.
Joe Demi, he's almost as old as this theme song, but Chef is gone and we need someone to bat at the top of the order. Joe Demi, he's also a part-time bowler. He can do leg spin, but he's no Ravi Ashwin. He'll need help from the heavy roller.
Southey in full outside off stump. A little bit of a way swing, and Denley drives nicely up to mid-off. There is no run.
That should end up as Joe Denley, ridicule is nothing to be scared of.
Yes.
There's been some discussion, at least in my head, about how England ought to approach the run scoring, and I do believe they do need to score runs, because it's easy to say, well, let's block, but if you do block for 4 hours and you've only got 50 runs, a clatter of wickets is still going to be a problem for you.
2 slips, and that one dies
Wow.
completely outside off stump. A little bit of gentle away swing, but then BJ Watling has to take on the second or third bounce. Far more trouble to Watling than it was to Denley. There is no run. Yeah, I agree.
But
and
as England are 200 runs behind, it's quite feasible for them to overtake them, to take that number by the end, as we get into the third session. And then the runs count double, because you scoring the runs, they're the runs they have to get, and they have to bat again, etc., etc.
And you're taking 10 minutes out of the game for the changeover.
Yes. So for every reason, I think England need to look to score runs.
Southey in, left alone outside off stump again by Joe Denley. A very elaborate leave to a ball that lost all momentum pretty much on the way through to BJ Watling. There is no run. Obviously, the first crucial first hour and first half an hour, all that cautiousness will be the order of the day in the early part of the day's proceedings, as it always is. Batters trying to get their feet moving, but look, you're right. You can't just prod and block from the crease for 4 hours. It doesn't actually help you keep out good balls if you're just looking to block and prod. You've got to get your feet moving. 2 slips in the gully and a short extra cover in. Southey goes wide on the crease, trying to create an angle. He does not create sufficient angle for Denley to do anything other than leave through to the keeper. There is no run.
But people will say, well, what's the point of England scoring runs? You can't win the game. But the point is, scoring runs will help them save the game. And I think that's what they need to do.
They need to just sort of bat quite sensibly and properly, don't they, really, if the ball's there to hit it.
And all of these deliveries from Southey to Denley in this first completed over of day 5 have been too wide for Denley to do anything with.
And there's another point, which is that if England are scoring runs, I'll finish after this ball.
Last ball of the over from Tim Southey. Well, sort of makes Denley play. It jags in off the seam and does bounce a little bit of uneven bounce, not unexpected on day 5. Strikes Denley potentially somewhere uncomfortably. Does get beaten on the inside edge a lot, and it rolls out into the offside. There is no run. No runs in the 8 balls so far today. A little bit higher than some were uncomfortable. 55 for 3.
Good off cutter, actually, wasn't it? Came back quite a long way.
I'm not sure it was an off cutter on purpose necessarily.
The other point is that if England are scoring runs, then New Zealand will have to protect boundaries, which they wouldn't have to do if they were blocking, and it would allow them to have more fielders round the bat, say for Santana, and more slips in. Whereas if they had to have a sweeper out on the offside and leg side because England was scoring boundaries, then that's another way of taking the pressure off the batsman.
Or even not necessarily close catches, but just people saving singles.
Yes, or in the ring, yeah.
So when you get those nasty little balls that rear up,
there's no one there to catch it.
Yeah, and it creates gaps for you to score more runs.
Plenty of people to catch it right now, as Joe Root goes back, as he so often does, to the spinners. He does like to play the spinners off the back foot, but with a little bit of uneven bounce, he's got to be a bit careful. Pushes this to short leg. There is no run, so we've got a slip and a gully, a silly bit off, and a short leg in place for Mitchell Santana to Joe Root. This pitch has turned more than I've seen a pitch turn in New Zealand for quite some time. As Santana is in, tosses this up, and Root drives pleasantly into the offside Kane Williamson field at mid-off. There is no run.
Message from Tom M. Good evening. Feel like I've watched England try and fail to bat out a 5th day so many times in the last few years. Today would be a lovely time for 2015-16 Joe Root to make an appearance.
I was thinking overnight, I'll come to that after this delivery, which is tossed up very wide from wide of the crease from Mitchell Santana, trying to sucker Root as he suckered Sibley last night. Root is not for suckering, and there is no run. Joe Root is probably no longer England's best batter. It's Ben Stokes.
Discuss.
Oh, yeah. Joe Root is averaging less than 35 since 2017 in Test cricket. In fact, he's averaging less than Tim Southey in Test cricket since 2017. This one dips on Joe Root, and a little bit of bounce strikes Root high up on the bat and dribbles out into the offside. There is no run.
So you're saying Tim Southey's a better batsman than Joe Root?
No, I'm saying
so then you're saying the average is not a determinant of who's a better batsman?
It's not the sole average.
Right.
It's not the sole determinant.
But it was the determinant you put forward.
As Southey is in, bowls this one a little bit flatter, a little bit fuller, 92.4 kilometres an hour, and Root has to jabber down hurriedly on this one. It goes to gully. There is no run. The point is, that Root is someone we think of as one of the best batters in the world, averaging 35 would suggest otherwise in the last, or at least he's not been scoring the runs that someone of his reputed class should be. This is outside off stump, and Root punches this nicely. He does play off the back foot well, square on the offside. Punches this straight to point, though. However, there is no run. 2 maidens in a row, plus a third of a maiden, if that makes any sense. 55 for 3.
It sort of does. Anna Forsyth, afternoon, evening, all fool's errand this following cricket business, isn't it? Question mark.
Can be, but it's also one of the most rewarding things you can do with your time.
And Tim Everingham. Evening, Gorillas. Wishing you all the best for the night. It would be a real shame to stay up until 4:30 only to have a 5-wicket collapse and lose by 19 runs and an innings. Hope I haven't jinxed anyone in particular.
Can't always get what you want. You don't deserve the Headingley miracles if you can't sit through the ignominious collapses. Denley facing up to Southey, who continues full outside off stump, and again Joe Denley leaves through to the keeper. There is no run. There's only been one delivery so far from Tim Southey to Joe Denley this morning that's made Denley play, and even that was going way over the top of the stumps.
Arthur Patricia makes a very good point, actually. In a logically coherent universe, Root would need to score some runs in order to preserve his place in the side.
Captains tend to get a longer rope. I don't think Root is batting badly per se over the last little while. He's just not batting brilliantly. As Southey is in second ball of the over, that's very wide of off stump, and Joe Denley again plays a very studied leave through to the keeper. There is no run.
I've found the scorecard I was looking for. January 1992, England made 580 for 9 declared. If you can guess who scored the runs in that game off the top of your head.
Gooch
scored 2 out of 580 for 9.
Robin Smith
96.
As Southey comes in, this thrilling guessing game shall continue after this delivery, which, guess what, is fullish and wideish outside off stump. Denley leaves through to the keeper. There is no run. Alan Lamb?
Lamb hit 93. Alex Stewart 148 was the only 100. New Zealand were bowled out for 312 in their first innings and were comfortably saving the game until they lost 7 wickets after tea. Tufnell had the bowling figures of 46.1 overs, 25 maidens, 7 for 47.
Whereabouts was this?
This was in Christchurch, and England won by an innings and 4 runs. And if I remember correctly, if they would have got past if they would have made England bat again, I'm not sure there would have been time.
Square leg has gone back deep on the leg side boundary, and so Joe Denley just nudges a single into the leg side as Southey goes a little bit straighter. The first run of the morning, Joe Denley on to 8, England 56 for 3. There's another more recent test match which probably more closely aligns to England's position, the test match at Auckland in 2013, where England were facing down a big, a notional tide of 481, where Ian Bell scored 75 off 271. Joe Root batted for 79 deliveries. Matt Pryor scored a brilliant unbeaten 100. Stuart Broad 6 off 77 deliveries.
Yes,
as England saved that game. Matt Pryor back defended one that rolled down the stump and didn't knock the bails off. 5th ball of the over. Foolish delivery that shapes from the hand from Tim Southey. Root blocks out into the covers. There is no run, and Monty Panesar had to block out with Matt Pryor and had to do a sort of commando crawl back into his crease after diving after attempting a single to get Pryor back on strike.
So what we're saying is that a number of England-New Zealand games in New Zealand have gone to the very, very last knockings of the 5th day. So hopefully you'll be staying with us for as long as possible.
Last ball of
today's
Southey's
play.
over. He's up to the crease and bowls. Does make Root play, and he's off the mark because Southey strayed onto the pads of the England captain. Works down the around the corner to Trent Bolt. They come through for 1. Root on 1. Denley on 8. England 57 for 3. Trail by 205.
Yeah, a typical Root nerdle, that one, wasn't it? Around the corner. Anyway, message from Mark Zip. Evening all. Joining you from the breakdown of the Wilkes Bar Record Show. Say hi to Jack, Tommy, Steve, Andrea, and Mark Zip.
Hello, everybody.
Do they? I think they pronounce it Wilkes-Barre, don't they? Is that
Wilkes.
in Pennsylvania?
Doesn't say.
Yeah, that's one of those odd pronunciations, if I'm not mistaken.
And Mog says Leach is a better bat than Root of late. ...
No.
Hardy,
And, Tom M. Definitely think Root has dropped out of the big 4, which, to be honest, I think is now a big 2 below Smith. That's the mega 1.
Steve Smith is statistically freakish in the last 2 years or so, although he didn't do particularly well in the recently concluded Gabba Test match. Santana is in and bowls a little bit straighter again. Nice shape out of the hand from Mitchell Santana, tossing it up, trying to get the ball to dip and drift. Denley defends on the bounce to short leg. There is no run.
He's quite tall for a spinner, isn't he?
Yeah, 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah, which does sometimes convey certain advantages to do with overspin.
Santana goes wider on the crease. That's too short, and Joe Root was saying about how strong he is off the back foot, square of the wicket, and he's punched that away nicely between point and cover for 4. First boundary that Mitchell Santana has conceded in this innings. Yeah, but it can make it difficult when you're a spinner to really toss the ball up above the eye line.
Yes, but on a pitch with variable bounce, tall spinners have an advantage because balls that keep low are much more deceptive because you expect it to have greater bounce from that height.
It's again a little bit too short, a little bit too wide. Root plays this as more of an open face, and it's a good diving stop to his left by Jeet Raval at backward point. There is no run.
And judging by the one that hit Leach on the helmet yesterday, he can get them to jump.
That was out of the foot marks. No such. It's a little bit easier, I think, for the right-handers to play Mitchell Santana at this point. There's no real foot marks outside.
Ooh.
I say that as one hits the one foot mark that there is and bounces to first slip. But it's too wide of off stump for Root to be bothered with. There is no run. But it was really the left-handers who were troubled by those balls spitting and bouncing. Actually, that didn't even hit a foot mark, did it? That
I don't think it did, no.
So
Way short, though.
Hush my mouth. That's a much fuller delivery, which bowled a little bit more round arm and arcs into Joe Root, who blocks this almost Yorker-length delivery.
He gets nice drift, doesn't he, Santana, actually?
And it rolls behind the stumps. There is no run, and 1 ball left of the over, in fact. 4 runs off it. Santana places his very long fingers around the seam of that Kookaburra ball. Holds this one back a little bit. Root plays this nicely at the top of its bounce, and Raval forced into another half-diving stop and pushes it into the covers. Parrott with his semi-misfield means that Root can come through for a single. England trail by precisely 200.
Which England cricketer was born today in 1932?
1932. So he would have played in the late
50s.
It's not Fred Titmus,
It
is
is
it?
Fred Titmus.
Is
Happy
it?
birthday,
Really?
Fred. No longer with us, unfortunately. We can still celebrate his birthday.
Right, Hendo's been on Twitter sphere. OK, leaving work. I'm expecting England to be 7 down by the time I get home in 40 minutes for the addition of 8 runs. We're doomed.
The Hendo morphing into Woi Woi Pom Pom.
That's a scary thought.
James sending a lovely picture of his black cat. I'll finish off the message.
Southey in. Southey not in because Root backs away, spotting. Jumping in early on the spotting people walking behind the sight screen.
Yeah, so James, lovely picture of his black cat. Cat sleeping on me. I'll have to sit here and watch the cricket on mute and listening to you, of course.
Sounds a very sensible option.
Leah suggesting not fed is guerrilla cricket's more disgusting boycott.
As Joe Root has a little bit of a waggle of the bat in preparatory fashion as Southey comes in, does bowl this time in full delivery, a little hint of swing into the right-hander and punched by Joe Root up to mid-on. There is no run.
Ravi Nair, hello Dollings, just to reassure you that your eager listenership extends to the state of Maharashtra. Although it were to say doomed, I wouldn't disagree.
Yeah, Ravi in Bombay, which is in the Indian state of Maharashtra. Welcome, everybody. Wherever you are in the world, we are a global listenership. We have a global listenership, rather, here on Guerrilla Cricket. Very wide on the crease goes Tim Southey, and very wide of the crease bowls Tim Southey, and Watling has to dive in front of first slip to take that. Left alone by Root, there is no run.
Did I read that Watling didn't keep at the start of
for
the
the
second
first 15 overs?
Who kept?
Tom Latham. Tom Latham.
Oh, right.
So
was he not on? He was not on the field, presumably.
No, he wasn't.
He
Tom
came
Blundell.
on. He came on at drinks.
Yes, that's right. Tom Blundell came on as the sub-fielder. Latham is the regular keeper in one-day internationals, so not a job he's unused to. Southey in, again, delivery that's well wide of off stump and testing Joe Root's patience. He can occasionally be drawn into those slightly wafty drives outside off stump. We saw in the first innings, actually, him trying to poke at one from, I think that was from Colin de Grond? No, that was from Tim Southey as well, actually, and just steering one straight to slip. But he's not tempted on that occasion, goes through to the keeper, there is no run.
I suppose the current practice for every team playing about 3 or 4 wicket keepers just gives you some flexibility when your keeper's batted for as long as Watling has, which doesn't happen very often, admittedly.
As in comes Southey, right arm over the wicket, very wide again of off stump, starting wider and swinging wider, and again Watling having to skip in front of the first slip to take that. There is no run. No, just tell I. It was Neil Wagner who got Joe Root with a very wide delivery. It was Southey. In fact, he took the catch, basically steered straight to him like it was a slip catching drill.
Some fighting talk from very deep third man. A 2-test series where it should be a 4-test series. Looking forward to seeing England go down 2-0.
New Zealand do not like playing long series against anyone. They prefer to play white ball stuff.
Finally, Southey makes Root play, but he's in behind this one solidly and defends to cover point. There is no run. Yeah, certainly in New Zealand, the chief executive of New Zealand Cricket has been on record as saying the economics of longer series just don't work for them. Which is a shame. I and many other people on this show have made the point about the sort of unequal nature of distribution of funds and resources around the world, in even at the very top level of cricket, and New Zealand have found themselves on the receiving end of that a few times. Last ball of the over, and again fuller and straighter. Again, a little bit of swing maybe into the right-hander, but Root defends from the crease up to mid-on. There is no run. A maiden, a slightly better maiden from Tim Southey on that occasion. England 62 for 3. We do have some people with us on YouTube. Hello Nola says, what's up, Guerrilla Cricket? We also have some people with us on Crick Tracker. You can watch us at facebook.com/Crick Tracker or facebook.com/Guerrilla Cricket. Ayub Khan Moment, Naseem Trading, Abdul Majib, Vishal Chahal, Prince Fuller Adeyemi, Francis Blackett, Milind Patel, and Murray Dolan, Habibur Rahman Safi are all with us. Abdul Majib says, why don't you guys do commentary in India's home tests? Well, we do sometimes.
We did a one-day series against the West Indies a couple of months ago.
We
I
did.
seem to remember.
We did the last time Australia were in India. We did every game of that tour. It was a very good series. That was
not an ideal time of the day for us.
And frankly, there have been 3 test matches going on for most of the last few days, and we can't physically cover all of them.
But I have to say, if they played more day-night games, that would work as far as timings are concerned.
Yes, it would. It's a very pleasant start time for us here in the UK. Just a sort of early breakfast. Santana is going to continue 3 for 11 off his 11 overs. 5 this one in down the leg side. A good take by BJ Watling, skipping down the leg side. Whips the bails off quickly, thinking Denley might have overbalanced. Denley did not overbalance, and there is no run.
Anyone discovered what's happened to the Oxen Shield?
The Oxen Shield is a white ball cricket only gadget.
Really?
So
I hope he keeps one, just just in case it starts becoming a bash fest.
Santana tosses this one up, and good flight to that one. A good drift as well, as you were saying. And Steve, he does put a lot of action on the ball, so even if the ball isn't turning that much, it will drift and it will dip. It's a little bit too full, and Denley blocks out on the offside. There is no run. Santana in again, tosses this up. Good leave by Joe Denley, well watched. That was a delivery that could easily have tempted him to have a poke at it, a little bit like Dom Sibley went on with the arm that time and bounced a little bit on the way through to BJ Watling, who takes well and almost treads on the stumps. There is no run.
Did Sibley score any runs on the offside?
One.
We applauded.
He's off the mark.
Yeah, we applauded.
Santana goes very wide on the crease and fires this one in full on the leg side, and nudged by Denley into the leg side. Well fielded at short leg. There is no run.
Did he use something odd with his fingers there?
Arm ball?
I'm not sure. Was it at the front of the hand, maybe? Or maybe try to bowl a leggy?
Or a left arm wrist spin delivery type thing. As Santana's in, 5th ball of the over. A ball that pretty much yorked Joe Denley. He was shaping to smash what he hoped would be a full toss through the leg side, and then it dipped on him, and he has to just dig this out into the offside. Santana fields off his own bowling. There is no run. Last ball of the 34th over of England's innings coming up. Watling settles behind the stumps as Santana's in Denley with that half step forward. Watches this very carefully as it bounces through to Watling outside off stump. A maiden again for Mitchell Santana. England trail by precisely 200.
Arthur Patricius suggests captaincy has ruined Root's formerly world-class batting, but at least he's an atrocious captain whose decisions cost England matches.
I think that's people are obviously going to be critical of captains when teams are in losing positions. I don't think Root is an atrocious captain by any means, but I don't think he's not the best going around either.
Well, it's very difficult to tell nowadays, I'm afraid, because coaching has encroached onto on-field captaincy to such a large extent. It's almost impossible to tell what is the captain, what is the coach, and who has the upper hand in those discussions. I mean, as far as plans, what they do to bowl at various batsmen and what fields to set, are almost taken in many respects out of the hands of the captain completely.
Well, I mean, certainly the role of planning before the game and the series starts has become much more prevalent in the last few years with the more data that's available. Certainly,
but you remember the Bob Woolmer and talking in the earpiece of the captain.
That was an extreme example, but yes, full delivery outside off stump from Southey, 2 slips in place. I'm sure if the gully is still there, yes he is. But this from Joe Root goes off the inside part of the bat up to mid on. There is no run. Yeah, that little wheeze from Bob Woolmer, always an innovator, was...
yeah, but there's nothing to stop him sitting just beyond the rope and telling the fine leg fielder, passing on messages that way.
You do see messages passed on. You often see the bowling coach or the fielding coach going down to have a word with someone.
But who has the overall responsibility? It's not clear anymore.
I think it's in a well-functioning team. It shouldn't, as long as everyone's on the same page, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's when there's differences of opinion that things start to become difficult, irreconcilable differences of opinion, shall we say. This is solidly defended by Joe Root. Again, Tim Southey gets one to come in a little bit to the right-hander, but defended back to the bowler. There is no run.
Not just when you're in the field. I mean, for example, we were critical of the way Buttler was playing with Leach in the first innings. We don't know whether Buttler has done that off his own bat, whether he's been told to do that by the captain or the coach, or whether there's a specific plan in play. And it's very difficult to apportion, well, not necessarily apportion blame, but apportion responsibility.
Southey in full delivery. This one does swing away. Tim Southey's stock in trade, the outswinger to the right-hander. Very full delivery. Root drives, doesn't really time it, goes up to Kane Williamson at mid-off, and there is no run.
It's quite possible that Buttler was told, look to pinch the strike, don't look to score runs, and keep Leach off strike under all circumstances. And
it's equally possible he was told nothing at all.
But we don't know, and I don't even think anybody will ask, because there was a situation last year when I can't remember which bowler was not bowled at all throughout the whole day. Was it Chris Wokes?
Chris Wokes disappeared for a session. This is outside off stump and is left alone by Root, mostly on length, I think. Passes sort of over the top of a 5th stump through to the keeper. There is no run. In fact, it was
more than a session. He bowled about 2 overs in a day.
In fact, it was the first Ashes test of this summer.
Yeah, and I spoke to somebody who was in the press conference afterwards, and he'll be in later actually, and nobody asked the question of Joe Root at the end of the day, why didn't Chris Wokes bowl? Nobody. And that's an abdication of responsibility, because it's a very important question.
In comes Southey, 5th ball of the over, right arm over the wicket, full delivery, tempting for Joe Root, I'm sure, to try and drive through the covers, but he leaves alone through to the keeper. There is no run.
But, and whose responsibility is that? Is it the captain? Is it the coach? And he was on the field the whole time, he just didn't bowl. And he was one of England's bowling attack.
Well, we saw on day 3 in this test match, Ben Stokes bowled 4 overs in the first two sessions.
Stokes is very much the fifth bowler in the team, not least because he has been prone to injury and he's very important to the team, and they're careful not to overbowl him.
Last ball of the over is Fuller and Strater, and Joe Root, grateful for a delivery on his pads, just nudges this into the onside. Wagner comes from mid-on to mid-wicket to field. They come through for a single. Root on 7, Denley on 8. England 63 for 3, trail by 199.
Umpire Ian Bell, Evening Gorillas, had a relapse last night and chose to listen to TMS. Ramprakash sent me to sleep. Won't happen again. And Grace messages to say hello. Joining you from work, won't be tweeting but will be listening.
Good.
Jonathan Shortland, the Black Caps Twitter account has announced that entry into the Bay Oval today is free, so get yourselves down there.
Yeah, you could have a really high-quality day of cricket ahead of you.
Oh, it's a bit of an ask for us to get there.
Yeah. We might not get there before the end of play,
No.
so maybe.
A couple of Gorilla friends are out there. Taz is out there, Rog is out there, Dutchbird Kate is out there.
Yeah, and they've had very good weather.
Yeah.
Generally what we've seen on the We've
Glorious.
barely seen a cloud for all 5 days.
Glorious weather, high to mid-20s. Bright blue skies, and there was fears of rain late today, but those appear to have completely dissipated, judging by the previous forecasts. This from Mitchell Santana turns a little bit from outside Root's off stump, but very slow turn, and he can play it off the pitch into the offside, fielded at backward point. There is no run. I suppose the plan is going to be for Santana to wheel away at this end, and then the seamers to rotate from the other.
Yeah, that's maybe why he got very little bowling in the first innings. So they thought we're going to need him to bowl a lot in the second innings. There is this myth that spinners don't get tired and can bowl all day. It isn't true. Spinners do get tired.
As Santana is in faster and flatter, and it rather zips through to Giroud, who plays it well in the end from the crease. Just knocks it on the head on the bounce to gully. There is no run. Certainly your fingers get tired, and you can get, if you're really trying to give it a rip, you get the seam cutting your fingers up, and you just can't put that much body into your action anymore, and the ball sort of comes out with a lot less venom. If you're doing it properly, it's not just run up and roll the arm over. This is outside off stump and left alone by Giroud. Through to the keeper, there is no run.
There's mental tiredness as well.
Yes.
Because you're concentrating every ball. You're trying to put plans into action. You're trying to bowl in a specific way. It takes it out of people.
All the more reason for England to actually score runs, because it will make New Zealand actually think a little bit. This is bowled from wide of the crease to Joe Root, who ends up walking across outside off stump and turning around to watch the ball into BJ Watling's gloves. There is no run. If all you're having to do as a bowler is just put it on a spot and wait for a mistake, it's not that tiring.
Yeah, I don't think they should be, certainly early on.
This is back of a length, and Root goes on the back foot and turns it into the leg side, but cannot beat Tom Latham at short leg rather, and there is no run. It bounces into his chest.
I'm not suggesting they try and hit Santana out of the park.
No, but knocks some singles around.
But yes, find gaps.
I think it's what it's what Sibley didn't do yesterday, and it meant he was just reduced to prodding from the crease until he ended up prodding at one that he shouldn't have prodded at. Root doesn't prod at this one. That's a good forward defensive in behind that one. To Mitchell Santana, there is no run. Another maiden, England 63 for 3. We'll have a change at the end of the next over.
Mayank tweets to say, with the other test done now, I can finally focus on New Zealand taking England to the cleaners.
It's a slow road to the cleaners, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, that first day-night test played on Indian soil was a bit of a demolition job by India. The seam bowlers taking the fast bowlers, in fact, taking all 20 wickets to fall, which is I think that's the first time that ever happened in an Indian win in India.
On the question of spinners and rotating the strike, I heard an all too rare good insight from Shane Warne, where he was talking about the annoyance of people taking singles against you, because you've got to plan the way you want to work somebody over, and if you don't bowl a lot of consecutive balls at a batsman, you find yourself thinking, I'm just going to got to get him out every ball, rather than stick to the plans the way you've worked him out.
And as a batter, you're less under pressure because you're getting those runs. You're not being tied down. Do have a change of bowling. Tim Southey, an economical but fairly ineffective spell is over for the morning, and the man who took the first 2 wickets to fall of the Test match.
I turned to look, but I was gone. I cannot see my own reflection now.
Starts with a very full delivery, which swings a little bit, but Root blocks back to the bowler. There is no run.
I have become caught Colin de Grandal.
Scary thought to become Colin.
Apologies, Joe Denley, because of course that last over was a maiden. Denley on 8 of 33, 2 slips in the place. Full gentle swinging delivery from de Grandal, and Joe Denley plays a net drive up to Kane Williamson at mid-off. There is no run.
The captaincy issue is being discussed. Agreed. James says agreed, but who should be captain? ? Not a popular opinion, but I'd be tempted to say Anderson. Points, fitness are noted though.
He did want the job. I think after Cook left, possibly even before Cook, he put himself forward for the job. But Root was very much the nominated.
I don't think
man.
he said he wanted the job, but he was a bit annoyed that he wasn't even in the frame, or he wasn't even in the discussion. And I don't think he specifically wanted the job. He just would like to have been discussed.
Broad has captained England in other formats. A pretty unsuccessful spell as England's T20 captain. The second slip has gone out into a second short extra cover, almost off Hayden for Colin de Grandal. This is back of a length and angles into Joe Denley, and he plays it rather hurriedly into the leg side. There is no run.
Who was the England captain when they won that T20
Collingwood.
competition?
Paul Collingwood.
Right.
Broad, I think,
remember Broad took a lot of wickets. He kept taking wickets in his first over. Didn't he?
Broad and Ryan Sidebottom took most of the wickets for England in that tournament. With Lum and Keys veteran Peterson doing the damage at the top of the order with the bat. It's a nice drive from Joe Denley. Plays a lot of very nice drives, not in the James Vince sense. He's a bit more solid looking than that. Beats the diving man on Hayden, but straight to mid-off. There is no run.
Yes, no pressure is being put on the bowlers because they're not finding the gaps. They're not working the ball around. I imagine they'd worry about the headlines if they did get out trying to milk a single.
This is back of a length, and Denley just waits for it to come to him and just defends it on the bounce to Gully. There is no run. We will have that change at the end of this over in 1 ball's time. In fact, let me consult my piece of paper, which I made. Not for a tip, Mrs. coming on to ball by ball. Steve is going over to Jingles, and for the first time this series, we'll have Pralab Gupta. He's coming on to read your tweet. So this is last of me for half an hour. De Grandal in. This one doesn't swing away from Joe Denley. Is forced to play, and he blocks back to the bowler. There is no run. Yet another maiden. England 63 for 3, trailing by 199.
Yep, you owe us all right. You think this alternative cricket commentary stuff comes cheap? Well, we need some dollar bills to help pay our bills, so please go to patreon.com/GorillaCricket and sign up to make a regular monthly donation. You know there is literally nothing like Gorilla Cricket's coverage, so don't be tight. Dip into your virtual pocket and throw some cash our way. See, Rihanna knows. Patreon.com/GorillaCricket.
Well, that change around means that at least half an hour has gone, and England have they've played out,
Survived
a half an hour,
well.
and they'll be ticking off those little milestones. You know, a half an hour and an hour and an hour and a half.
It's the way to do it, isn't it?
Well, it is.
Step by
Although
step.
I would still like to see them keeping the scoreboard moving, but I can see why they're loath to try and do that. So it's
Well, they're under
it's tricky.
200 behind. They've gone through that mark now.
This first ball from Santana's new over is outside
Clutching
the off
at
stump,
straws here, Knotford.
and it's taken. He rode with the bounce, Watling, and took that quite nice. He's a very tidy keeper, Watling. But Root had nothing to do with it. He has 7 from 35 balls, and he faces up to the left arm round bowling of Mitchell Santana. It's very full. It's basically a half volley, and Root blocks it back to the bowler.
Both looking quite comfortable so far.
Here's a kiss of death. Welcome, Pralab. How are you doing? It's been a while.
well,
you have
thank
been
you.
here since the World Cup, or no? Or did you do some of those T20s?
no.
No, I didn't actually. The World Cup.
How did that go for you? As this next ball goes onto the back foot, as he likes to do against the spinners, and just plays it down into the ground towards short leg.
Look, tell you what, the World Cup, the final was one of the best games I've seen. I think I'm glad there's been some changes made on the back of that. But it was a very good World Cup overall.
It was quite a good. It was not really a World Cup that people were expecting. They were looking at 400s all over the place, and there weren't any. Santana bowls full, and Root a little bit edgily defends, but well down into the ground, but it didn't hit the middle of the bat.
Although I'm quite happy that you did lose the Rugby World Cup. Winning 2 World Cups in the same year would be a bit too much for me.
Well, England
that
is
was a
not the
big
same
heartache
as the
for me,
England cricket
absolutely.
team, you know. They are slightly different entities.
I was very up for that final, I have to say.
There's the Santana bowls, and again edgily, root bat and pad close together. He gets an inside edge into his pad, and it goes down into the ground. It could have gone up towards short leg or silly mid-off, but didn't. And Santana looks a little bit rueful, and Root smiles, which gives you some idea of the dynamic of that particular ball. Well, he did play it down reasonably well, I suppose.
Bit inside edgy though, wasn't it?
Yes, but the angle of
never-
the bat
never-
was going to
good,
push
agree.
it down.
It was never going to a field, I give it that.
Santana in again, and edge. This one edged, an outside edge this time from Root, goes to the right of second slip, who falls and stops the ball. Another maiden, 63 for 3, 38 overs gone. England trail by 199 runs. And what do our Twitterers have to
Watch
say?
out Twitter. Well, a lot of talk about their captaincy at the moment. So Arthur Patricia, I thought Anderson should have taken over from Cook. Moin Ali would get my vote now. Burns if Ali's not on the side.
Well, he's not in the team.
James also, again another vote for Moin Ali. There, Moin Ali would be a good captain, but he's not certain to pick on form.
Yeah, he's not.
Burns, I know, did well for Surrey, so not a bad choice. Anderson abroad would be my choice, though. Don't give it to a batter for once.
Oh, Broad is a brave call. I have to say, whenever
Especially,
I hear
don't think he's going to be around for very much longer, is he?
well, we've been saying that for a while, and he does seem to keep chugging along.
I mean, if Anderson's being considered, then
Yeah, also true. As de Grandhomme starts a new over to Denley, a blocked forward defensive. The Australians in the old days, I'm talking about before, about 30 years ago, would pick the best team for a particular game,
Absolutely.
and they choose the captain from that. And there's a lot to be said for that, but there's so much invested in
always
these
done these,
eras.
yeah.
You know, the Cook era, the Root era, the Morgan era. It's not sure it's entirely useful. This is driven by Denley. Has he found the gap? No. A good sprawling stop by the cover fielder. So the pressure's still on the England batsmen. They are defending, but they're not breaking the shackles as far as singles or boundaries are concerned. He's taking guard a good foot and a half outside the crease.
it was swinging
To de
certainly
Grandhomme.
looking
I
earlier.
wonder if Watling should consider standing up to de Grandhomme. He's not particularly quick.
Yeah,
This one's
it's
well
very
outside the off
pedestrian,
stump.
isn't
And
118 kilometres an hour.
yeah, he's in the long tradition of dibbly-dobbly seamers that
New Zealand,
New Zealand have had.
produced.
Chris Harris. Remember Chris Harris? You sometimes wondered if the
Yes.
ball was going to get down the other end. He was that slow, but he did a job for them.
You do know that the minute he does move to the stumps, he'll get an edge fly straight past the keeper.
Well,
That's all right.
yeah, but you
happens.
want him to get the edge. It might stick.
Taylor might lunge and grab
We've
it.
got a one slip who's fairly wide. We've got a gully. We've got a short mid-off now and a short extra cover as Denley defends to that short extra cover. They've got a... Well, they're expecting
quite a
him
ring
to...
on that offside, isn't there?
That's for playing shots on the up, and is he doing that? Is he going to drive on
He
the
hasn't
up?
yet. He certainly did it in the first innings, but
Yeah. There are some heavy-looking cracks, but they are mostly...
they're right under the feet, aren't they?
Yes, they're very close to the crease line, which shouldn't bother the batsman all that much. And Denley is batting outside his crease, outside the off stump again from de Grandhomme. Denley wants nothing to do with it. One ball left of the 39th over of the innings. When was the last time we saw a run? Anyone?
A
It's
while
been a while.
ago. Yeah. Roots little niddle round the corner, wasn't it?
Really? Was it that long ago?
I think so, yeah.
That's right, and that's the case of the pressure building by the Kiwi bowlers, and but nothing's really threatened them at the moment.
No,
I would
it
say.
hasn't.
Last 10 overs, 8 runs have been scored.
And while the New Zealanders have got a ring of steel, they can't punch her. They're not actually close infielders. They're not really under pressure, are they?
No, they are keeping the batsman there as this is closer to the off stump. Denley feels he has to defend, which he does successfully back to the bowler at the end of the over, 63-4-3.
Now on YouTube, some of our live chat, Joshua Brown, English cricket is stagnant. Zahid
Well, it has been the last 5 overs.
Well, there you go, not many runs there. Zahid Shah, New Zealand will win. And on to Twitter, we've got Dr. S.P. Cooper. Evening, gents. Joining you with a griv fatalism about England's chances. They'll do all the hard work until tea and then go to pieces, won't they? And then I'll actually get you guys to answer this next question,
I
which
think
is...
not fair to set that up. Haven't you?
Well, I have
Previous
because
test histories.
we have mentioned games which have gone all the way between England and New Zealand.
last
In New
session.
Zealand, sometimes to the very end of the last session.
And that should answer umpire Ian Bell's question here, which is one honest question, Gorillas. Can we bat through the day?
Yes. Will we?
Will we?
We don't know.
That's what we. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
I think the second new ball will be telling here as well. There's probably been a reasonably good declaration here where they'll have an opportunity with that.
Santana starts a new over, and this is cut by Root off the back foot, but there is a deepish backward point who prevents any run. Who are we seeing getting some
Santana,
treatment?
I think, before the game.
It's either a private moment between the physio and Santana, or he's having some treatment.
Or is
I'm
it
not
Bolt
quite sure.
or maybe Bolt.
As Santana is in again and bowls, and
Well
Root
played.
doesn't play a shot like this. He thrusts his pad just in case it comes back, but it doesn't, and it's through to Watling. 14.2 overs Santana has bowled, and he's got 3 for 11. Decent figures.
Sort of thing that make your record look good.
Somebody's told a joke which Ross Taylor finds funny, because he's grinning as this is fuller and straighter. And Root has driven some runs, and it's going to be 4 of them, as that's sweetly timed past the bowler to the onside and down to the boundary.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That was a nice shot. He didn't try and hit it too hard. He just gently caressed it
good shot.
between the stumps and mid-on, and timed beautifully.
The 2015 Joe Brewed there.
And no risk in that shot at all. It was just nicely pushed
Yeah.
the front of the bat.
So Santana's figures are taking a real hit as a slip, a short leg, and a silly point weight as Santana bowls to Root. He goes on the back foot again, plays it down in the ground past that silly point, out to cover a dot ball. Root into double figures, 11 now from 44 balls. And do we want to say the C word? That he's looking comfortable? You wondered what C word I was
I
going to
was
say.
wondering, I mean, there's plenty of words. Some of them are fit for radio, some of them aren't.
Who's
Well,
upset you?
They are. Oh, another slip has come in as this is thrown right up by Santana outside the off stump, but well watched by Root. Angles it down to backward point. No run.
The only one he doesn't look too good on is that sort of back foot prod he does to Santana.
Well, he
He
likes
gets
playing
hurried a
spinners
bit,
off the
so-
back foot. He does score square of the wicket
Sort of
on
clipping
the
the ball
offside.
off his stumps. It's,
Yes, but he's always done that. I mean, when he was in form and when he was not in form. A very full ball, almost a Yorker, which Root leans forward, defends back to the bowler. The end of the over, 67 for 3. New Zealand are 195 runs ahead.
Excellent. Now on to the tweets. Anna Forsyth. I'm not saying BJ didn't work hard, but shouldn't wicket keepers be subject to the same penalty periods after an absence off the field as bowlers? I mean, it's the most specialist position on the pitch.
Well, if he was off for 15 minutes, I don't think you are penalised. I don't think any fielder is penalised for that. But I don't think a bowler is either.
I think I agree.
So
I'd
they
say
probably-
in those circumstances,
It may be that they are penalised if they stay off too long. But as we say, so many teams have more than one wicket-keeper now.
And I believe they have relaxed rules recently on substitutes, and substitutes within the squad can actually come in for keepers.
To keep?
To keep if someone is injured.
Really?
If
Oh,
someone's
in
injured,
case of an external injury. But I
Versus
don't think,
before it used to be the 11 had to do it.
I don't think just because he's batted for 15 hours.
Oh, no, I wouldn't
he's
say that.
entitled
It's
to
more
some-
as a general
Seriously, right. Should have got
principle.
out. He should have been caught for 30. Then it wouldn't have happened. There's,
well, 51 is. I think he
Very
was
much
dropped on.
so.
31, was he dropped by
31 or
Stokes?
51
Yeah.
is it Stokes?
Either way, it was a long time ago. There is some
long time before he got to 200.
discussion from Williamson. The game is drifting just a little as de Grandhomme comes in and bowls, and this is a check drive by Denley. That's what the man is there for at short mid-off.
Very
But it doesn't get
exaggerated
to him.
fielding. Isn't it? Good grief.
Yeah, he sort of fell on it, didn't he? But no run accrues. And how long have we been
Joko's
playing this
garden.
morning? 45 minutes. And what did England start the day on?
55, I think they were, weren't they?
So
55 to
12
3.
runs in 45 minutes. Doesn't look like they are looking to get ahead as de Grandhomme bowls. And then he plays a little bit wider of the stumps than he has done on other occasions, but meets it cleanly, pushes it to cover, no run.
I'd say the field settings have been quite good because it's that ring that's around the batsman, which means they do have to go either over the top or find the gap at the expense of having a couple of slips in there, given the ball hasn't been moving as much. So that's smart.
Yeah, and you wonder whether it would carry to a third slip or a fourth slip, so especially after Grandham, as this is outside the off stump, looking for the nibble. Denley doesn't oblige. 120 kilometres an hour. What's that in normal? It's about
80, isn't it?
78
80.
or something.
Yeah.
No, it was less than 1.5. It's 1.6, so it would be about 77.
It's 5/8, isn't it? So
Oh, my 5/8 times
Yes.
table.
75.
75. We're going to guess at
60 kilometres
75.
per hour, and
It's-
I go fine with
It's
that.
pretty pedestrian. But it's not the speed that gets him the wickets. This one does go past the outside edge for perhaps the first time today. It was
A full
a
stroke.
genuine attempt to play the ball by Denley, and it went past his outside edge. Just a little bit of movement. He fenced at it, he missed it, and Watling took.
First really good ball at the stumps, isn't it?
Well, it wasn't. It wasn't at the stumps. It was somewhere where he probably had to play. As he's in again, and this is wide and driven uppishly, sort of. It was in the air for a while, but it gets past cover. The man from extra goes back to retrieve, and they only take one run. I think that was in
Did
the
he
air
have
for a
to-
That
little.
was, he was not in control of that shot.
He was reaching for it, and he threw it up a little bit wider, and it was in the air for quite a while. So before we had a short extra cover, it probably would have gone down his throat, but he was moved back to a regular position, and a possible chance went down.
Just what those fielders are there for. But
Well, he was there for him in the last over. So De Grandhomme in again, and this one is closer to the off stump, and it ducked in a little bit. It caught some part of, mostly of the bat, but I think De Grandhomme's asking whether there was some pad in that. I don't think there was.
outside. wasn't it?
Either way, it's the end of the over. 68 for 3, 41 overs gone.
Now, just on to continuation of that captaincy conversation. Arthur Patricia again. Quite like the reasoning that both of you gave, that both Anderson and Broad would have been good choices, but I don't think either one of them will have unbroken runs in the side now. And James also says Broad is only 33, hasn't had any serious injuries in the last few years, and is bowling as well as he's ever been.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he be in the team?
I think he would be in the team, but with the state of the punditry of cricket, or in all sports nowadays, you have a couple of bad games, and the hounds of the press and social media are out to get you. I'm not sure that Broad is. I think he's a decent thinker about the game, but I mean, you only need to see how impetuous he was earlier in his career with the reviews to know that strategic thinking might not be his forte. I have to say that on the rare occasions when I've listened to an interview with him, I've been extremely impressed with the way he speaks about the game, and he's going to walk into a commentary position at the end of his career, and deservedly so, because he talks very well. The first ball of a new over from Santana is defended by Denley to cover.
Not into coaching?
Perhaps, but honestly, I thought he was so good with in front of a microphone that compared to Vaughan and Tufnell and Cook, even as Santana comes in and bowls, and this is edged but into the ground by Denley down towards second slip. So that single that Denley took in the last over has meant that the bowlers have got somebody new to bowl at each end, because for a long time it was Santana to Root and de Grandhomme to Denley. So Santana's got something else to consider. He's got two slips, a short leg. There is no silly point to Denley, and there was one to Root. He's now moved back to short cover. This is outside the off stump. Denley leaves. Yesterday, at a certain time, Steve, we were on together, and we were asking for words for no runs in different languages, because we were going to have to say it a lot. And I've forgotten. Ravi Nair told us what it was in Sanskrit. So maybe we can get through some languages this afternoon. Santana bowls, and a straighter ball which Demi blocks back to the bowler.
I remember one of the words was soon.
Soon was Korean, wasn't it?
Korean.
Or Thai.
was Korean.
Can't
This is,
remember.
please feel free to tweet in no run.
No run.
In
Dot
as many
ball.
languages as possible, or dot ball.
Yeah, be creative. There's probably not a word for dot ball in many languages in the cricketing context, but sort of language is always fluid. There's a change in the field now. We are getting a silly point coming in.
The French would call it a ballon de dot. I do know
The
that.
dough.
The dough.
The dough. And dough. Silly point is in as Santana bowls well outside the off stump. Denley leaves. Who's that coming at silly point? I think that's Henry Nichols. He's got a helmet on his head. And Bolt looks like he's warming up.
Shaking his shoulders.
And might be into the attack sooner rather than later. Probably at de Grandhomme's end. This is outside the off stump. It doesn't turn away. It goes on with the arm, but it started very wide, and it was a good leave from Denley, even though the bowler has his hands on his head, thinking that was closer than it was. The end of the over, 68 for 3.
Dan Youngman, great. I'm 2 hours from Heathrow. Do you think I'll get to see much? I'm not sure what you're planning on seeing, but the cricket will still be running in 2 hours.
Apparently it's free entry. It's free entry, so if you can get there, then you won't be paying a ground admission. Watling's having a word with Santana.
Doesn't look like they're changing the bowling. De Grandhomme's still up.
No. If you're the bowling team in this situation, you're saying keep patient. Well, wait for something to happen.
Get
But
one
at the
wicket,
back
you
of
might
at
get
the back
two.
of everybody's minds, they're thinking nothing's happening here. So often your body language is more confident than you feel. We've got a very strange feel. I'll read it after this ball as de Grandhomme bowls to Root. He's got a slip, a gully. He's got a short mid-off, a wider regular mid-off, and a short extra cover. So he's got 3 men in a very small arc on the offside, who are there for the drive.
Fairly narrow as well, actually.
Yeah,
as was
how many
demonstrated-
degrees would you say? It's
20?
20, yeah, as de Grandhomme bowls well outside the off stump, and Watling takes.
Had there been a bit wider, that shot where he did actually hit through the hit it in the air.
Well, it wasn't it, Denley?
Yeah.
So this one's Root. So, yeah, as I say, we've got a short cover, we've got a shortish mid-off, and we've got a short straight mid-off. So they're all not quite in hand-touching distance, but near enough. Let's see if Root is tempted to find a gap. This is straighter, and Root defends to the very straight short mid-off.
It's
Not the
almost
slightly wider short mid-off.
the sort of thing you'd expect the Red Arrows to do, formation
Yes.
fielding, isn't it?
Yes, not quite as quick, those 3. Who's there? It's Kane Williamson's one of them.
Yeah. Southie is
Southie.
one. Probably Latham, actually. He's usually a close infield, isn't he?
As short ball,
Ooh.
a bouncer actually, which Root doesn't have to duck underneath because it was going well over his shoulder, and umpire Dharmasena, in his demonstrative fashion, is hitting his right shoulder with his left finger.
And called a wide.
Was it called a wide by
Yeah.
square leg? Well, the fact that Root didn't even attempt to dive would suggest that that's a good call.
It was way over his head.
As de Grandhomme's in again. It's a short ball, and Root has guided this down, and he's caught at point. That is caught at gully. That is a really poor way to get out. He just hung the bat to a short ball, and Root will be kicking himself, and when he gets back to the dressing room, other people might do some kicking as well.
How's that? You missed about, I caught you out. How's that?
Well, it was a short ball outside the off stump. He didn't have to play it, and he just guided it down. It was a good catch, diving forward by, is that Santana?
I think it might be, yes.
Yeah.
It's a sort of carbon copy.
No, it was Latham.
Things to
It was
do.
Latham. So he wasn't in the offside. Well, that's just a bizarre way to get out.
You know there's a ring around you, and yeah.
What's the percentage in that shot? I mean,
I think what he's hoping to do is get over the top of it a bit more and just hit it straight into the ground, but he
and
didn't
it would
really
still go straight to the fielder and nothing would happen. So,
Or at least,
yeah,
at least
didn't
hit it
seem,
with intent.
especially when he's been leaving so well all day.
well, I think those funky fielding positions and the previous ball, which was an unlikely bouncer, well, it played with Joe Root's mind, and he's got out. So England, after 55 minutes, have lost their first wicket of the day. It's the captain who has gone. And New Zealand, having, I just said they might be a little bit worried
bored,
that nothing
yeah.
was happening, will now be cock-a-hoop.
I'll put that down to Root giving his wicket away, though. They don't think they've got him.
Well, they have got him in some respects, because they've made him do something he didn't want to do. You've got to give some credit to
that
the fielding
pressure,
team.
the fact they've been scoring 8-9 runs in the last 45 minutes.
Well, we've got a new
it's-
batsman at the crease. no stranger to New Zealand, having spent much of his childhood there. It's this chap.
I got up in Stumps, and he called me a oh, if I'd only seen that Ben Stokes was so mean. And he called me a said he'd punch my...
Well, Ben Stokes is a left-hander, so we have one of each at the crease for England at the moment, a right-hander and a wrong-hander, and he'll be facing up to de Grandhomme. Ben Stokes, as Knuckle said earlier, he might be England's best batsman at the moment, and he's no stranger to long innings as well nowadays, because he has found a way to bat long as de Grandhomme bowls to him, and it's into off stump, and immediately his defensive shots seem to go further than other people's, and he's timed it up to mid-on. He doesn't get a run, but he's played a positive shot, and we're looking again at this dismissal, and it's
like the training slips catches that you practice that you give straight to the fielder. You know he's there. You look to him,
and even if he's hit that hard, or if he's anyway. De Grandhomme bowls to Stokes, who defends square on the offside. No run. The end of the 43rd over, a successful one for New Zealand. England are 69-4-4.
Now onto the tweets, because I refreshed and now I'm behind them, which is good news. We've got quite a few Twitters now. Tim Everham, can I ask where the original De Grandhomme jingle comes from? Is it a brilliant original?
No, it's Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd.
The song?
Yes, off The Wall.
Yeah,
indeed.
John Perry's sort of quite the optimist goes, I read this initially as England is 5,207 runs behind, and such is my confidence in England now, I thought that sounds about right. And also asked a question, how many examples are there of England surviving the last day starting with 3 wickets down? I think from 5 wickets down it's never been done, but I wonder if it's commonplace from 3 down, or is it rare?
It's a good question. We're a little bit busy here, so if somebody wants to get busy with a computer and work this out, then I would be interested to hear your findings.
Knuckle has the source, doesn't he?
Well, he's going to come in a couple of minutes, so he's going to be busy. This is hit in the air past short leg by Denley, and they take a single, but that was an involuntary stroke by Denley. It was Santana bowled a ball which bounced a little bit, and he played it close to Latham. Did he get to flick his finger? I'm not sure. But very difficult to catch those. If it would have stuck, it would have been a worldie, but it wasn't that close to him. It was probably a foot and a half wide of his torso. Santana now has a left-hander to bowl that, which is a slightly different equation for him. He got Leach yesterday, well, Leach was given out. He also hit Leach on the helmet. I'm not sure that's likely to happen to Stokes. But he's been quite conscientious, Stokes. He's having a look around. He's padding down the blameless pitch with the bottom of his bat to quite.
Yeah, here we go.
We're seeing that ball that's from yesterday, which struck Leach in the helmet, which you don't see very often from a spinner. And Leach had some wits about him. He would have taken 20 minutes to have some concussion testing. As Santana comes up and bowls, and this does jump into Stokes a little. It hit the handle or the glove. It went down into the ground, but it needn't have done. It could have gone straight to short leg. So Santana, oddly enough, is he's got some footmarks to work with. That hit the footmark. No, it didn't hit actually hit him in the chest. They would have appealed had it gone to short leg, but I think it missed the glove, missed everything other than the quite buff six-pack of Ben Stokes. This one, he prods that outside the off-stump. Again, he's playing very late. He's not coming forward, and he's watching it off the pitch and defending. This could be a little bit tricky for the left-handers. Yeah, it missed everything and hit him in the rib cage. He's a strong lad, though. As Santana bowls, turns back into him again, this time met by the middle of the bat into the ground towards short leg. This is going to be a test.
Yes, this is a bit more fiery, this track.
Well, yes, you've got those footmarks to aim at, and bounce is very tricky to play off-spin bowlers when you've got a lot of fielders around the bat. As Santana's in again, and Stokes covers up in defence. There is a slip, there is a leg slip, and there is a short leg.
There's not a lot you can do if it snorts off a length, is there? So.
Well, you can keep your hands low and you can keep your bat low and let it hit you in the stomach. Because if he is getting bounced, the thing that's really going to be a problem is if a couple start keeping low out of those footmarks. As Santana bowls again, and Stokes leans forward and defends. That's the end of the over. We're going to have a little change. Who's going where? And Steve's out. I'm going back on jingles. If you play a little turnaround tune, we shall get moving.
Yep, you owe us all right. You think this alternative cricket commentary stuff comes cheap? Well, we need some dollar bills to help pay our bills, so please go to patreon.com/GorillaCricket and sign up to make a regular monthly donation. You know there is literally nothing like Gorilla Cricket's coverage, so don't be tight. Dip into your virtual pocket and throw some cash our way. See, Rihanna knows. Patreon.com/GorillaCricket.
You're not missing any cricket. There's a drinks break. We're watching adverts for coffee, which is probably quite apt for people who are
certainly
wanting to stay up all night.
Well, I've just got myself a cup of the same. A few comments on YouTube. Joshua Brown, as a New Zealand supporter through and someone who's played with Kane Williamson at school level. I don't know quite what authority that gives him to say this, but I believe he will be one of the greatest batters to have ever played the game.
Well, you would say that.
I think we all concur with that.
I mean, you don't need to have gone to school with him to say that he's a very, very good player.
But we'll be interested to hear what he was like at school, if you do want to write that in your comments as well.
Well, let's hear from people who've gone to school with other people. If somebody's gone to school with Jason Roy, thinks he's going to be the greatest batsman of all time.
On Cricket Tracker, Safiola Shahid says, I think the socks of the first person from the right, which at that time was you, Pralab, are very dirty. Please don't show your beautiful socks, which is a confused attitude towards your socks.
No, I tell you what, I mean, they do have a bit of fluff coming on them. Normally I am a lot more, I guess, I'm a bit more picky with my socks, but today I went with a warmer, slightly thicker sock.
It's the end of the day. All told.
We all yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a bit of red, a bit of black.
Do they like my shoes? They're relatively new.
There's no comments either way on those brogues. The CEO of Cricket Tracker is watching, so
hello, sir.
Sajad Pasha. Gregory Beasley on GorillaCricket.com says, evening from Port Call. You're not missing anything, as Fred said, because it's a drinks break. Root almost looked like he was trying to leave that the delivery that he ended up steering to Latham.
Well, I've heard of the expression in 2 minds. He was in about 6 minds as he was playing that, and because it is quite slow as well.
The slower ball bouncer outside off stump.
Yeah, he was out Dernbacked there, wasn't he? Strange way to get out.
Anna Sai says, this game has convinced me more than ever that GC needs to do T-shirts that say, and there is no run. Umpire Ian Bell says, Broad and Fry's probably cemented a commentary position for Broady on the beeb. Yeah, Broad is, as you heard you saying, Broad is incredibly articulate.
He's much better than most of the professional broadcasters, from what I've heard.
Yeah, he just seems to really know his stuff.
Well, he's fluent. He's interesting. I mean, he's disgusting. Really.
And he's not just in after dinner speaker mode like some.
So if you can't repeat within the lines, that's just code for Broad. Come on, Gorilla Cricket.
But I mean, if people like Tufnell and Swan and Vaughan have a career, then he's way, way better than they are.
Neymar Butlin says, I'm just getting up to speed in LA. Why is England so piss poor? Is it all the bowling team's fault? I need to know who to blame.
Well, teams that play away from home over the last few years have generally struggled unless one team is extensively stronger than the home team.
Yeah, it's fading a little bit in recent times, but certainly England on flat pitches have struggled. It's sort of stat they conceded 603 times in the last 3 years in the first innings away from home, and you have to go back sort of 20 years or something before they've to get the same equivalent before
as
that.
the Grandabe comes in, we're back in, and this ball just goes past, edged on towards fine leg, and there is no fielder there, or the fine leg was very wide, and it'll end up coming for a boundary straight after drinks.
1, 2, 3, 4.
You just expect somebody to be there, and there wasn't.
You do. I mean, it was. Well, I guess New Zealand has got that stranglehold approach at the moment, and maybe they just sort of have that one fielder back on the leg side.
I guess for
kind of covering the
I
square.
guess for de Grandot, yeah, because he's slower, he'd have to be a little bit squarer. You're not setting fields for the inside edge.
As Digonda comes in a full delivery, that's just driven straight into short mid-off.
Yeah, Tim Southey has now moved into the proper off Hayden, and still got those two catching, sort of catching extra cover and catching short mid off. There's also a man at regular cover just behind them in case it does get through. So there's 4 men and they're sort of rhomboid.
Tell you what, I'll be very impressed if they can Denley can find a way to this offside at the moment. It's the full delivery is driven past this ring, that's what we say, but there is a fielder at Knuckle just
well through. The only way it's going to get it through if it's 2 fielders misfield the same ball.
Well, it was past
you
the
never
short
know.
ring and it was into the traditional ring.
Well, look, in fairness, it's a bit of achievement. They've gotten through the first ring of fielders. The second ring's the next step, and then after you get to the fourth. So it's progress is all I see this right now.
Yeah, they've left the point open if Denley wants to go a bit squarer.
This next delivery is just defended off the front foot. No run.
Well, where you don't put fielders is very much an art. You want people to play there so that they play shots which they probably shouldn't. But as far as his mentality is concerned, it's been actually quite impressive this morning. He was beaten by a couple.
Denley.
Yeah, but he's worked out what he's trying to do, and for the most part, he's doing it well.
He certainly enjoys his driving at the moment. His next ball is a short ball that it's just Denley just ducks underneath. So
he's setting him up for the nothing bouncer next ball, like Root.
Just the Root shot. I mean, it's one of those interesting ones with Root, right? You go, he would have at the start of the day, he would have talked to his batsman about playing the ball and its merits, not having these soft dismissals, and then going back to the dressing room and one of the very soft dismissal would be an interesting conversation.
Well, in both innings, he's steered deliveries. Again, like slip catching practice, as you were saying, straight to gully.
As Digonda comes in, this next delivery is just left outside the off stump. No movement off the pitch there. And Denley, and that's the end of the over. England 74 for 4 after 45.
Back on the captaincy thing, James Moosh, in regards to Jimmy Anderson, says, definitely wasn't happy that Strauss only interviewed Root, Stokes and Broad for the job after Cook resigned the captaincy, to which Anna Forsyth says, he was senior under Cook, so the fact that he never made vice-captain always made me think that he didn't want it. Mog says, I think using my own powerful translation skills, no run could be rendered as Num Uraula in Sumerian.
I think you've got the pronunciation there.
If there's any Sumerians who want to upbraid me on that, then please do. Anna Forsyth says, the miracle at Mount Maunganui has a delightful ring to it.
It's one of those lost Arthur Conan Doyle books. Or,
it's an unpublished sequel to The Lost World. Tom says, look perfectly comfortable, then flippantly gives your wicket away. Seems to be the story of every Root innings these days.
Now, as Santa comes into bowl, this delivery is full and just clipped into short leg. There was a ship in the background that you could see earlier, and you always wonder with the side screen. It was higher than the side screen.
it's at the side. I don't think it's behind.
So it's not in line with the batsman.
Yeah.
What would you do with that situation?
Well, if you're the batsman in England's case, you'd wait till it's long gone and you'd insist that.
You're probably on that ship to get away from this. Pitch at them, and this ball jumps in sharply. But Stokes just takes it into the box region, and there will be no run.
Well, the size of some of those container ships, you'll be waiting a while.
And I don't think you want to spend much time on a container ship. They're not very entertaining. It's not like a cruise line.
Yeah, fair. If you could pick a ship to go on for a couple of days, it wouldn't be a container one. Santa comes this next delivery. Doesn't spin as much, but it's defended quite comfortably by Stokes there. Still not off the mark. Faced 10 deliveries right now.
Yeah, wait until they get to their destination, and then someone turns one of these shipping containers into a hipster pop-up bar.
There's a music rehearsal studios that I've seen, which is all containers.
Excellent. Santa comes in. This next delivery, Stokes just pushes forward. He reaches out to that delivery to meet it, to smother any potential spin coming off, and he comfortably deals with that delivery.
And they're all sort of soundproofed, and then next to each other, and they put a bit of electric in them, and they just use those.
Cheaper than renting a building.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, there's loads of like craft beer pubs and pop-up burger restaurants and so forth that are in shipping containers.
The old days when diners used to be old railway cars in America. You know, it's repurposing.
Yeah, now there still are those things like train carriages or sort of a bus and so forth. I think, one of the fields in the leg side has come into silly mid-off. We've got a slip, a short leg, a silly mid-off, and a short leg.
We've got the four people round the field in your rhombus.
Me too.
Oh no, there's no leg slip.
No, the leg slip's come out.
Leg slip's gone out, but we've still got it. And this next delivery just inside edge, past short leg that we picked up by square leg there. Still the one slip.
I might have a leg slip, given how much the ball's likely to turn and bounce out of the footmark.
Yeah, well, again, it might be the fact they're not putting one there. Is they may they want him to play a certain way.
Yeah.
To get inside the line and try and play it down the leg side.
That's true. Next to the just this one turned completely right where leg slip would be. Stokes did not offer a shot there, so I don't think he's going to take that run. No, he doesn't.
I'm not even sure that hit Stokes, did it?
I think it may have flicked him on the way, but we'll have to see
he
that
would have
replay.
run had it been a bye, because why not?
Well, no, he didn't do anything. He just kind of left it. Now, let's see what's happened here.
It's out of shot.
It's out of shot, so
but that ball's turned so much from the footmarks, it's basically missed Stokes and gone past Watling without intervention of anything.
So why did they not run?
I don't know. Maybe I think it probably did flick him, but I think even if it hadn't, it would have still gone down the leg side.
Yeah.
Mog says root equals shit, exile him to the seconds to find form, and incoming turkeys says how many overs are expected in today's play, i.e. how much longer do England need to bat for the draw? There are 72 overs left. Minimum of, yes. Santana will hopefully
quite a well to go.
Santana, I think, will speed up New Zealand's over rate considerably, as will probably de Grandhomme.
De Grandhomme, and he's here to bowl after this last maiden over. Just continue 1 for 14 off his 9 overs. Handy figures. In fact, I'd say all the bowlers from the Kiwi innings at the moment will be quite happy with their figures.
Well, they'll be happy with their economy rate, certainly. I don't think Bolt and Southey have done all that brilliantly.
This next to the read just clipped out past towards score legion for a single, which is
the runs are flowing.
They are flowing, and Denley moves to 15. Stokes still yet to find a run yet. We did talk about what you were saying earlier, Fred, just regarding the fielders not being in their certain positions. You think about that ring fielder, and Denley's still looking to drive almost every delivery, so it's almost not working.
But he's not trying to open the face and go square.
That's true.
No, and he's not trying to hit it in the air either, although there was one occasion where he lifted one
up
involuntarily.
He reached out for that one.
Off to Grandhomme. When the ball's slower, you're more likely to... if it stops on you slightly, you're more likely to play it in the air.
Yeah, well, Stokes has a bit more liberty with his offside field at the moment. So the field and this next delivery is just left outside the off stump, but he doesn't have that same ring that Denley did.
No, it's a pretty evenly sort of split field. 3 men up in the off, 3 men up in the leg, a slip and a gully.
And again, I think they want him to play through the offside to those wide deliveries.
Yeah,
why wouldn't they?
Yeah, and you just noticed the fielders being back a couple of steps, or at least half a metre or so, just in line with the fact Stokes' stroke play is a lot more positive than Denley's.
Yeah, even his forward defensives go to the edge of the circle.
De Grande comes into bowl. It's a full delivery, so it's just blocked off the front foot by Stokes. No run.
Being that there's not a huge crowd in at any time in this test match, has the camera picked out Rog or Taz or Dutchbird Kate?
We've seen Dutchbird Kate's flag.
Oh, she's got a Barmy Army flag, hasn't she?
She's got one with her name on it, yeah. I think it's a St George.
Yorkshire.
I think it's a flag of St George, I think.
Right. I'm sure it says Yorkshire somewhere.
Sure, we'll see this. This is next delivery, just again defended off the front foot comfortably by Stokes. De Grande just picks it up.
There it is. Dutchbird Kate, YCCC.
Right there, perfect timing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Director.
We appreciate the line that we had into the cameraman out at Sky Sports, which is good.
Now, if you can do something about the seagulls flying in front of the camera every now and again.
What exactly? Well, give
I know, just
an air gun to the cameraman.
Employ someone to beat a sheet in front of the...
They would do in India. A seagull waller.
They do. De Grande comes into bowls. It's next to the reed. Just straightens up. Just defended off the front foot by Stokes, straight to mid on.
Just over the wicket now to Stokes, having been round the wicket.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to try and float one up well outside the off stump and get Stokes driving to the ball that goes across.
Yeah, he got out in the first innings trying to charge Tim Southey and
very different
drive it a while. He was on 91, yes.
Yeah, let's see. Just a bouncer well outside the off stump that just left alone by Stokes. Quite happy to leave that alone.
Colin de Grandhomme's trampoline ball.
And that's the end of the over. England still trailing by 187 runs.
Umpire Ian Bell says, we've got a couple of comments on Joe Root, inevitably. Tom says, it's also strange to be longing for the days of always scores a 50 but never converts Joe Root. Yes, I think he is an object lesson in being careful what one wishes for. Umpire Ian Bell says a captain should lead by example, and I can't help but feel Root is not up to it. Your thoughts?
Well, I think an umpire shouldn't be talking about the players, really. He should be concentrating on his own job.
Neymar Butlin says, I bet the England team don't want to see Santa coming down the chimney. Get it?
Yeah. He might mess with his hair. He's got a lot of product, Santana, in his hair. He just stand up in slightly unusual. Yeah,
it does.
It's like Mikel Arteta.
I think it's his distinctly artificial is being held in place by chemical means.
Yeah, it's quite impressive actually. You think about players.
I think he spent some time on it.
Yeah, yes, and it'll be interesting to see how it's after about 30 overs where it still stays in place. This first delivery just spins outside the off stump, left alone.
If England would have scored 650 in 2 days, it would have been interesting to see what happened to his hair.
There was a bit of helmet head when he took his
well, yeah, I mean
his
that was
helmet
the
off for the
biggest
century.
question, right? After a century, would his hair kind of pop up?
Well, helmets and gel
as per
don't
normal.
go together all that well.
As Santa comes in the ball, delivery just down the leg side. Well taken, actually.
That's a really good take.
Really good, especially when he was blindsided completely by the batsman to get across and pick it up really cleanly and actually do the obligatory stumping, even though the batsman's in, just to show how good that take was, just on the replay. That was nicely done by Watling.
He's a tidy keeper.
He is. As Santa comes in, a nicely drifted, looped-up delivery that ends up being a Yorker that's just defended onto mid-on for no run.
It's very rare you see BJ Watling make a mistake behind the stumps. He's not flashy by any means.
Yeah.
And obviously a very fine batter.
Yeah.
Santa runs into bowl, and his delivery is just defended off the front foot. Denley just keeps his pose, and that will be no run.
Well, I believe this test match started earlier than the other two that were being played at the same time, and it's finishing long after it.
Only a couple of hours earlier in the case of the Gabba test.
Yeah. But no, it's certainly interesting. It's been a while since we had a proper 5-day test match that will possibly go down to the last hour. As this next delivery just again yorked him, but he just plays it out to mid-on, all along the ground, no run.
We always used to say that an ideal test match went to tee on the last day. As far as the pitch is concerned, as far as the play is concerned.
Well, ideally, you want all possible results on that last day.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, I'm afraid.
As this next delivery just defended quite well by Denley on the front foot, no run. But that's another maiden, Santa. His stats going really well.
Gary Murphy says no runs in Gaelic Irish is nil aurith. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Nil aurith.
Nilaonrith. Phonetic
TH are usually sort of A's rather than Ths.
Phonetic pronunciation would be nice. Anna Forsyth says, I imagine if Guerrilla Cricket had a direct line to one of the camera operators at the game, it would be the one who got caught on camera chugging a beer the other day. That was fun. Yeah, he got caught chugging a beer, and they had to. He was operating one of the cameras that was up on one of the gantries, and then had to run back up the ladder.
That's whatever happened to solidarity amongst cameramen.
Dobbing in your mates.
Yeah. Exactly. That is not on at all.
You've got 42 minutes to enter the GPL, our game of skill and prediction. You guess the number of runs that will be scored in the day's play, or possibly guess the number of run that will be scored in the day's play, given the sluggish start that we've seen for. Go to guerrillacricket.com/competition and follow the instructions contained therein.
Got a new bowler, Wagner. We'll get the jingle in after this next delivery. His first delivery is just left loan outside the off stump, slightly moves off the seam, and this is who it is.
That's Neil Wagner. He's my boss. And when he takes 5 wickets in an over, it was murder.
5 wickets in over will be quite welcome from New Zealand at the moment. He's none for 16 off the 6. But I think it's a right approach. Rotate the pace bowlers around, see if they can keep them fresh and coming in at full pace as much as possible. So Wagner runs in. He has got left alone. I believe he's got 2 slips in, so and he's certainly getting a bit more carry through with the extra pace coming in. So it'll be interesting to see if he can induce an edge or not. Stokes, 20 deliveries, no run.
And he doesn't really look all that bothered.
No, he doesn't. It's good to see. I think a Stoke of a couple of years ago would have been slightly concerned by this.
Well, batsmen aren't bothered until the one ball that they are bothered.
Yeah, yes. Most in the Southie's sort of string of maidens at the start of the day, they were pretty much all outside off stump.
Its next delivery just defended comfortably again from Stokes.
So if he can leave most of the deliveries, then and then defend off the back foot the rest of them, he's absolutely fine. There's not really been a false stroke from Stokes as yet. One would imagine it wouldn't be too long until Neil Wagner tries to bounce Ben Stokes.
But I think the good thing is it does show Stokes' mindset right now is to stay there at the end at least, bat through the overs. He's not looking for that deficit they have at the moment. It's purely just about picking the right ball on his merits. He's still positive, and his next delivery is slightly fuller, but again left alone by Stokes. Not tempted to drive at that one. And it's good positive cricket to see that. He's happy to wait for the right ball and do the right team activity.
It's interesting you say that because you wouldn't necessarily. People think positive cricket is attacking cricket or trying to smash the ball for four, but no, leaving deliveries in confident manner. Or you said that first forward defensive he played, where basically if there hadn't been a mid-on in place, it would have gone for four.
Yeah, you can be positive in defence,
and he has been for quite a long time. He had 2 slips in the gully and a short leg in place. I imagine there's a couple of men back on the hook probably. Neil Wagner very rarely bowls without at least one. Oh, there we go.
There is one just going back right now. Almost towards the boundary, a couple of paces in.
Cue the full delivery outside off stump.
I think there may be a bounce, and the next this next ball is well left alone by Stokes, but just outside the off stump. Easy line for him to leave.
He sort of thought of playing that for a short moment and then lifted the bat away. It's slightly defeated.
It's just one of those like exaggerated leaves that I think a lot of batsmen like to do, where you almost feel like, I was slightly tempted. And you're right, he was.
But that's the annoying thing as a club cricketer. How often you see professional players hit the ball even though they're trying to leave, where many of us can't hit the ball when we're trying to hit it.
It's fair. Son of a good cricketer there. As this next delivery is just defended solidly, and Wagner just picks up the ball and threatens to throw it back at Stokes, so he's not looking at him though.
Yeah, the ball before Kane Williamson got to his 50 within the first innings, he middled a leave for 4 through gully.
Yeah, not fair, is it?
No.
It's a great story about Kane Williamson. When New Zealand played their first day-night test match, he was complaining to Brendan McCullum that he couldn't see the seam, to which Brendan McCullum replies, "You can see the seam?"
Yes.
What do we have on the Twitter and on the YouTube and on the Facebook? Please do leave us your comments on all of those platforms. All of them. Mog says in response to to an earlier tweet from Linux, the sinking of Atlantis and the rise of the Sons of Arius bit. I think talking fantasy and apocalyptic fiction.
A first ball just left alone from Santa. Denley on 15 off 70. He's batted a lot of balls here. You can get to that. I think once he gets past that 50 ball mark, you generally say you've batted yourself in.
What are those marks on the side of Stokes' helmet?
Yeah, there's
are they part of the design?
I think air
they
holes?
look like chalk marks.
Air holes. Not sure. Well, it could be the future of helmet making. Oh, you're right. It's like these sort of...
He's picked it up with chalky fingers, I think.
Look like a handprint, yeah.
On both sides.
A panda's been crawling over his head.
Either that or someone's been hitting him repeatedly.
Yeah, maybe it's Santa's hair products. He's kind of picked up his helmet and it's sort of rubbed off on the...
There's something about Mitchell.
This delivery just clipped out and we get a run here from Denley out towards square leg for a run. Santa now gets 3 for 16. The first run off him in quite a while, probably about 2.5 to 3 overs. But he'll be fine with that. He gets the ball Stokes with a change in angle and those foot marks that we saw earlier, and he'll be quite happy with this. Now let's see if they've changed the field out a bit and brought in that leg slip or not. But right now, Santa awaits. Stokes is just kind of having a bit of a wait. But we do have a leg slip in now, as well as a slip, which is good to see. And now this ball just cut away quite harshly by Stokes, but all along the ground, and it will go all the way to the boundary for 4.
Stokes off the mark with that delivery.
He is, and he just kind of rocked off very quickly and got into position for that cut shot on the back foot, perfectly middle that delivery, and straight past the fielder for 4. Well played.
Yeah, the silly point suddenly thought, I think this is coming towards me.
So it was that mind moment of panic when you feel there.
But, particularly when the person hitting it towards you is Ben Stokes.
Yeah. Very true there, Santa. Let's see what his response is. This next delivery is the delivery that goes that inside edges of Stokes' feet and kind of slowly rolls possibly towards the stumps, but I think he's managed to get it out.
Yeah, between his legs.
And that is no run. But let's see what happens to this ball.
Stump.
So it just hits the back of his second leg and just goes past the stumps, not hitting it.
Inside edge off both inside thighs,
and then
rolls past the stumps.
So Stokes
tell you
leaning
what,
forward and looking between his legs to see where the ball has gone.
Good delivery from Santa. Stayed a bit low, and this next delivery is wide outside the off stump. Stokes moves his pads across to cover any sort of potential turn coming in, but that's the end of the over. 5 off it. A good over, in fact, for both teams, I'd say, in this situation. And England moved to 80 for 4 after 50 overs.
Yeah, and even though I was saying earlier that England, it would be to their advantage to score runs, if they were to lose a couple of wickets, I still think that people like Stokes and Butler would see the value in scoring runs, spreading the field a little bit, and they're capable of doing that.
And they would find it easier to bat with a more sort of spread field
and intent as well, rather than play a game which is pretty much alien to them. Although Stokes can do it. I mean, he's never. He's not nowadays a quick starter in Test matches. He tends to really have a good look when he goes out to bat.
Yeah, I mean,
even in one-day games to some extent.
Yes. I mean, it's been a while. I think Stokes had a real platform to build on in Test cricket, coming in at number 5. The most obvious example of this was his famous innings at Headingley, 3 off 67, and then the next day 77 off 44.
Yes, although that was slightly extreme.
As Wagner comes in, this delivery is just full fired into middle stump, and Denley just defends and finds mid-on for no run.
And Joe Denley it was who did a lot of the setup work on that day, that time in concert with Joe Root.
That was a nervy afternoon.
That was a ridiculous afternoon.
I mean, get lined up for another one of these, or I wouldn't say afternoon or morning for us, but it could...
Well, that was a different scenario because all results were on.
It's Wagner, this delivery slightly closer to off stump, and Denley just watchfully watches it sail over stumps for no run.
Not only all results were on, but the series was on the line as well.
Good story about times of cricketing Ure from Arthur Patricia. Someone once asked Wilfred Rhodes if it was true he could see the seam on the ball while he was batting. Aye, said Rhodes, but you should have played with Ranji. He could see stitches.
Wagner comes in. Denley, can you see the stitches on this delivery? He can, it's just full, and he just defends it off the front foot more positively this time, so we'll end up out towards mid-off.
I'm not sure he needed to be playing at that, though. Defensive shots to balls that aren't going to hit the stumps is always a little bit of a worry.
What was Denley on overnight?
7, I think.
Right, so
he's had it on 10 runs.
9 in an hour and a half, an hour and 27 minutes.
Yes, he was on 7 not out.
That's Wagner. Concentrates and comes in this next delivery, again defended more positively from Denley. I've definitely noticed this over. He's hitting the ball a lot harder than he was.
Just maybe feeding off Stokes at the other end.
Yeah. Trent Bolt is continuing the warm-ups he's been doing for about 4 overs.
I think he's possibly taking one of those like aerobics class and letting the crowd behind him get involved in that. He's been doing that for a while.
I don't know if
he's doing the YMCA.
I don't know if you've ever done this, Fred, but warming up in the captain's eye line.
I was usually my own captain. So.
I think you always do that stretches and hope the captain notices. Let's see what Wagner's got in the call, and he's just driven this. He changed his angle as well, but Denley is comfortable to drive that all along
the other thing you do is when the ball comes to you in the field, you bowl it back in rather than throw it.
Yes, even if you're standing at slip.
Yes.
Trent Bolt is going through his bowling warm-ups. That was a complete net drive from Joe Denley. It was the kind of thing you play in a net and someone says, "Oh, lovely shot, 2 through 2."
Yeah.
Yep. Unfortunately, he's getting zeros at the moment, which isn't helping his plans. But to be fair, I mean, I've seen one rash shot from him today, and that was the that drive he reached out to. And apart from that, he's actually looked really comfortable. So we'll see what this next delivery entails. And it's a good ball on the leg side, a loose delivery from Wagner that just clipped out towards deep square leg, and it'll come through for 2. So 2 more to Denley, moves to 18, end of the over.
I was at a game at Radlett Cricket Club last year, and one of the young players on Radlett's books is the son of Michael Atherton. He was in a net, and his dad was chucking the ball down at him, and they were doing that thing where he'd worked out, how many runs they were needing and where the field were. And anyway, he chucks one down at him, and he hits it out to mid-wicket, and Athers says, "That's 2." He said, "Dad, you said the fielder was much squarer." And they started having an argument about where the mythical field was.
Well, the left armour, who has been warming up for quite some time, is into the attack.
We've got this man right here.
How does he speak, or play the horn, or clean his teeth, or even yawn? How does he shout? How does he call? Trent Bolt's mouth is really small.
Bolt bowled economically throughout the Test match, but not at his best. I think that's the first break from Mitchell Santana since yesterday.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if it's a change in ends, although I'm not sure why, given that end, he has been bowling well all here, but maybe it's a chance to see if there's anything from the other end as well for Santana. But Bolt just 2 runs off his 5 overs so far.
To be honest, though, his spell yesterday wasn't that threatening. There was a little bit too short, a little bit too wide. He's not got the ball to swing back into the right-hander as he does when he's at his best. I think he actually probably out-bowled Tim Southey in the first innings, but Southey ended up getting all the wickets.
So they've opened up a lot of the offside field here. So there's a lot more opportunities to pierce their gap. Still the one slip in for Bolt at the moment, and a bit of cover on the leg side. It's look, I think they have a different field to Stokes than they would to Denley, and rightly so, given Stokes is more of a stroke player, but they still have that sort of short mid-wicket in place for that sort of lofted.
Well, they've got the short cover and the short mid-wicket because this is not a very quick pitch.
Yeah. As Bolt runs into bowl, let's see his delivery. Makes them play and just out there, just curled off his hips for no run.
I do wonder though if this is the kind of pitch where actually the pace on the ball is much easier to play.
That's sort of like middling pace at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, I think what's been interesting just seeing at times at least Santana with just the variable bounce coming in. I think that's going to be the one that's going to slightly surprise him. Maybe the ball to Root may have surprised him slightly with the extra bounce coming in. Although
de Grondom's trampoline.
I still think it was more shot selection rather than the ball.
He had
itself.
to work really hard to get out.
And Stokes just takes a slight step forward, just defends it back to Bolt.
It's like when you sometimes see a striker miss a chance from sort of 4 yards out. You wonder, it genuinely would have been easier to score in that circumstance rather than get it over the bar.
Yeah, you do sometimes wonder. But it'll be one for the highlights reel that that Root will not want to watch again.
It's the only thing on the highlight reel from this morning, pretty much.
As Bolt comes in, the sticks literally is left outside the off stump, but Stokes sort of half in the mind, half thought about dabbling at it, but decided to withdraw his bat in the end, and for good reason as well. But the ball actually doesn't carry through to Watling. So
imagine trying to make a highlights package of the hour and a half.
That'll be the perfect set of forward blocks that we have
here. Or indeed the first session yesterday when 58 runs were scored in the whole session. But it suited the batting team on both occasions. England will be perfectly happy if the highlights reel is incredibly short today.
Yeah. This next delivery again on leg side, but Stokes managed to find the fielder at square leg.
Those 2-hour highlight shows with Bob Willis, that'll be a struggle. But
you'd be criticising Ben Stokes when he defends one off the inside half of the bat.
Yeah, but I think he does it with a little bit of a glint in his eye.
He's playing the character of Bob Willis, yes. We will have a change at the end of the over. Not Fred. Will take his leave. Steve will come into ball by ball. I'll move over to Jingles and Pralab will replace me on tweets.
As this next delivery is just defended off the front foot by Stokes.
And that's the over?
No, there's still one more delivery remaining. So we've got the 5 dot balls. And I'd say that the over has had plenty of opportunities to score a run. So I don't think it's as good as those 5 dot balls would suggest. It just happens to be that Stokes managed to find the field on every time he's clipped it on the leg side. But let's see what Bolt has in store for his final delivery this over. He's got plenty of overs to come, I'm sure. And he steams into bowl. This next ball is just cut away by Stokes. Finds the gap past point, and that will run away all the way for 4.
We shall play a little bit of music and move everybody around.
It's been too many overs on a little couch, just like an old biddy. Need to stretch and slouch. It's been a few overs coming, but to the sofa, she's gonna come. Oh yes it is.
A theme tune somehow managed to find its way in the middle of a change of overs jingle. Steve Jones has come into ball by ball.
Good afternoon to everybody again. So England 86 for 4, 53rd over just about to begin, currently trailing by 176. Trent Boult is just strolling off back into the pavilion, and I think earlier on we saw him being heavily massaged by the physiotherapist.
Boult's just bowled his first over,
yes.
And now he's going off.
So maybe why he hasn't bowled before, he's obviously got some sort of issue. Wagner is going to continue. Bowling to Denley, who's stoically continuing on this rearguard action. Wagner 8 overs, 0 for 18. Runs past the umpire. On-off stump, Dentley just prods forward, and firm defensive shot down the line. Yeah, we're just showing us again the physiotherapist working on Trent Bolt's back. He's clearly got quite a problem there. So he lasted 1 over.
Just in case New Zealand were wondering how they're going to get Lockie Ferguson into the attack for the second test.
Maybe they're setting this up for it.
Strategic break.
Why not?
Yes. Anyway, Wagner to continue to Denley. Again, just outside off stump, he jabs at it. Ball just runs away through to gully where it's fielded. And as we have said so many times in this test match, no run.
Still got those two catching fielders very short on the offside for Denley to for Wagner to Denley.
So the England deficit down to 176 by my maths. I haven't actually got it up. Denley 80 balls faced so far for his 18 runs. Wagner bowls shorter pitch delivery straight through to Watling. Denley just lets it go by him.
Slightly offline from Wagner, the first real short ball we've seen with his way that he has of really bending his back. That one did zip through a bit more.
Well, the last time we saw a zippy short ball was de Grand home to Brewed, and it ended up with a wicket.
I think loopy rather than zippy.
Who says short balls don't get wickets these days?
It's the one after you've got to look out for. He jogs in.
Ooh!
On off stump, it reared up quite nastily. Did it hit the very top of the bat, or maybe even his glove actually?
I think bottom glove as he sort of ripped the glove away from the bat handle.
We're just going to watch a replay. No, yes, it was inside edge, but it was high on the bat.
Was a bit of extra
bat kick
with that one.
Bit of bat handle, bit of glove. Certainly. Wagner getting the ball to bounce from a length on that occasion. Denley is vulnerable to that delivery that comes into him a little because there's a bit of a gap between bat and pad. The inside edge is in play.
Yeah, the Aussies sussed in quite easy on it, didn't they? This one wide outside off stump. A firm stroke nudged out to the cover fielder, and again it dribbles to him really. And Denley sort of having a serious investigation of the bottom of his bat, which gives you some sort of an idea where that ball came from.
Yeah, it's a little bit early on it, I think. It's a slight alteration to the field that de Grandhomme had. It's still got the catching men on the offside, but there's man gone at sort of cover point rather than just cover, so the square of the wicket shot is slightly cut off.
Wagner in very full ball, pitches on the crease line, actually rears up and almost goes over Watling's head. But yet another maiden completed, 53 overs, England 86 for 4, still trailing by 176 runs.
We've got the one from Hendo. Joe Root is a genius, constantly creating new and innovative shots to get out to. I'll have to say, I'd say he'd be doing that in practice all the time, giving catching practice to Slipstream. So I think he practices well for it. It's not a new shot.
Like a good captain should.
Absolutely.
I don't know about new ways. It was very Groundhog Day, actually, the way you got out. So.
And the other one is from Neymar Butlins. There's only one guy who can step up and help England beat this New Zealand team. Can Spoons call in Bilbo Baggins?
So we have another change of bowling. Santana is coming back into the attack after being taken out for 1 over by Trent Bolt.
Santana just bowled 20 overs in a row either side of. Obviously with a day.
Nice sleep in the middle.
With a night in the middle, but Bolt bowls 1 over. Santana thinks, all right, I'll have a rest. Nope. Nope.
You normally get 1 over rest so you can change ends.
Well, I think he needed to put his gel in again, and that's why it's probably off the field for that 1 over cap in the middle.
This comes to something when Trent Bolt is the change bowler for Mitchell Santana.
So what do they got? They've got a slip, a leg slip, a short square leg, sort of a silly point, and Santana into Ben Stokes. Short, punched away out on the offside. New Zealand fielder chases after it. He's going to pull it up before it gets to the boundary, and the batsman will run through for 2.
It's a nice pickup by the field, actually. It was Henry, was it?
I think it was, yes.
Yeah.
Stokes has strolled to double figures. He's on 10 not out off his 34 balls faced.
And sort of a reverse Dom Sibley, they've all been back foot punches through cover.
Santana in again. A full ball. Stokes just punches it down the leg side. And it's fielded by mid-on. No run anymore.
Just someone on Facebook joining in. Gregory Beasley, just evening from Porthcawl.
Evening.
And David Priestley, really good listening during work.
Cheers.
Santana wide outside off stump. Stokes just sort of presents pads to it because the ball was about a yard wide of his off stump. Watling gathers. And it's yet another dot ball.
Yeah, he's aiming for that foot mark outside the left-hander's off stump, but it is very wide.
Centre in again. Just outside off stump. Stokes just goes back onto the back foot, just pads down on it, and it dribbles down the pitch back to Santana.
Yeah, that one did hit the foot mark and kept a little bit low.
So you know that sharp turn that he had a little bit earlier on, but I'm sure one of them will do it. Santana in again. Stokes just punches us out on the leg side, and there's no run there. England 88 for 4. Last ball of the 54th over coming up. 2 runs taken off the service, so not a maiden. That makes a nice change. The close fielders all crouch waiting, and once again he's onto the back foot and just pushes it back down the pitch to complete the over. From Santana, very tidy.
England have added just 33 runs this morning. Runs are a consideration, but somewhat secondary consideration at this stage. And if you want to predict how many runs England will score today, or I guess New Zealand, if England do make New Zealand bat again, then enter the GPL. You have until lunchtime to do so, so you have 18 minutes. You pay £1 per guess, and all of that money goes into the pot. And if you are absolutely correct, bang on, you win the pot, which currently stands at £32. We've had one guest so far. Oscar Mack, who's entered every day of this test, has gone for 160 runs to be scored in the day's play.
Good show.
So you have until lunchtime, as I say. Go to gorillacricket.com/competition.
So Wagner continues. First ball is just straight out off stump, and Denley defensively nudges it back down the track.
I'd say that last over would have been respite for anyone playing drinking games for every maiden over. Finally get a few runs in a few overs. It's a
be drunk
welcome
by lunch.
change.
Any tweets? Any messages?
No, not at the moment. I think they're waiting for the next 4.
We all are. So Wagner, so far 9.1 overs, 0 for 18, sort of reflective of the run rate that England are imposing.
Dare I say it, Wagner has a ring field.
Very good.
I thought we'd run out of all of those jokes, but apparently not.
You've won the ring, you got Lord of the Rings, you got plenty of material up there.
Wagner again, he's peppering that off stump of Joe Denley's, but Joe Denley just sort of steps across, foot down the track, and comfortably plays it defensively down the pitch.
For a man who has been seemingly batting for his career every time he's come out to bat in Test cricket, Joe Denley's remarkably calm.
Well, he's got a reasonable record behind him at the moment, so he's got sort of no reason not to be, has he? Despite the sword of Damocles over his head. But
I think it probably helps that the situation he's in actually suits his game style quite well.
Wagner again, this one's much wider outside off stump. Watling is forced to fling himself to his right to gather that ball before it thumps Russ Taylor in his leg. And needless to say, another no run.
Yeah, that was a very wide delivery. And Wagner's been a bit... he's been bowling closer to the stumps the last over or two, but he started off a lot very wide outside the off stump, and just basically meant batsman could just leave it at will. Yeah,
he did this yesterday, actually. He bowled
especially with no movement as well that he's getting.
Yeah, it's going gun barrel straight at the moment. So, in again, a little bit of a short ball, and Denley's really plays that really quite uncomfortably. Where did that come off? The outside of his bat? Off his chest?
I think it came off the top of the bat, but we'll have to see that replay. But it did pop up into the open, just into no man's land.
Short ball.
Yeah, straight off the bat.
Yeah. Now, had they had that ring of fielders in, that would just been a very simple catch. But now they've actually sort of moved back to save the singles.
Well, they're still there, but they're much straighter than that. There's no one at sort of silly off comes silly point.
Yeah.
Can't have them everywhere, obviously.
Yeah. Wagner in again. This one is still outside off stump. His radar's gone a little bit here, so Denley just able to shoulder arms, watch the ball go through to Watling behind the sticks. Wagner marches back to his mark. I don't think he'll be too pleased with this over so far.
Denley's shown he's not been afraid to take on Neil Wagner with the pull shot throughout this test match, and he has played a couple of really nice pull shots. There are two men back on the hook, so I guess Wagner isn't going to just try and bowl short balls every ball to Denley.
Wagner runs in, going a short ball.
Oh, that's hit
His
his
helmet. Top of his head.
Thumped into the back of his helmet. He just sort of shakes it off to Joe Denley, not too bothered. No one's come running out. End of the over.
Just the one tweet we've got from Mayank. I guess a suggestion. I think the GPL should close 5 minutes before the second session, not the end of the first. Gives people time to contemplate and make a good bet.
Yeah, that will be breaking with precedent, and quite a lot could happen after lunch that would mean it would be far too easy. But of course, the pot does roll over, so there'll be chances in the second test if no one wins today. Somebody won 98 quid the other day.
Ooh, nice.
Yes. Congratulations to them. So the match as it stands, England 88 for 4, having faced 55 overs, trailed New Zealand by 174 runs. And what have we got, about 2 more overs before lunch, or a bit more?
No, it's still got 13 minutes left.
13, right, okay.
So a bit of time, and I think with the current sort of trajectory, that's probably a couple of overs at least.
Oh God, is time beginning to drag? I thought it had been rocked apart. It's Santana in again anyway, and Ben Stokes big step forward and just nudges this out onto the leg side.
What do you guys make of this pitch? I mean, basically New Zealand, although having been in a difficult position, did bat very well to get to their runs, but the pitch hasn't really deteriorated significantly on the 5th day.
A little bit. It's slower than you'd like.
It does rather demonstrate what I thought, which was England didn't really get enough runs in their first innings. So,
I mean, you could certainly.
I know Knuckle defends them.
Well, only in that 350 was an all right score. We didn't know at the time that this pitch wasn't going to break up. But you can certainly say a lack of ruthlessness from England, not taking advantage of the conditions. But I think the lack of penetration in the bowling will be worrying me more.
Yeah. So Santana in again. That one does turn really quite sharply from the offside. But again, Stokes has just sort of stepped back across his stumps and just flicks this out onto the leg side.
There's this pattern of England on flattish pitches where the bowlers just run out of ideas.
Right. Yes, they got fairly tanked in the press, didn't they, over it? Again, another ball outside off stump. Stokes strides deliberately forward to it, and this time actually nudges it out onto the offside for a little bit of variety. Just short of the pitch, the foot marks there.
Good positive stride from Ben Stokes.
Almost a repeat of the previous ball.
I might just have a go at recomplete the ball in the Gaelic language of Gary Murphy's come in and given the pronunciation. So it's Neil Aim Ree.
Neil Aim Ree.
Neil Aim Ree.
There is no run in Gaelic.
Oh, my word. Much faster ball from Santana, really chucked in. That one did rear really quite nicely at Stokes, but fortunately just into his body.
There was another Neil Amery there again.
Yes. It's good from Stokes. He covered up with that second line of defence, got himself outside the line. Obviously would have bounced way over the top of the stumps in any case. It's England 88 for 4. And,
another maiden goes.
Crawling towards lunch.
Yes.
I mean, the good news is, I think English lineup, you'd say everyone can hold the bat reasonably well, can survive plenty of deliveries. So it's a positive when you're looking to save a match on the last day.
Yeah, they've lost the most stickable in Jack Leach. Had they reviewed, he wouldn't have been out. But
yeah, I guess it's one of those, you've got a night watchman coming in.
I think that's exactly what the thought process was. And
it was taking one for the team, wasn't it?
And it did look out in real time, but the Hawkeye revealed it was a long way away from bat and glove. But Denley talked him out of reviewing it.
So Wagner is going to continue. into the 57th over of this innings. It was a very interesting stat actually that Watling's innings of I think 470 odd balls was, and we'll just finish off after this. It's just played down the track by Denley. Was something like 7 or 8 balls short of the number of balls that a ball is used for, 80 overs.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's right. He practically survived a new ball by himself. Yeah, it was the longest ever innings by a New Zealand keeper, one of the longest ever by a keeper.
Wow.
Among many other records that he broke and set.
Wagner in again, all outside his off stump, and Denley is drawn into the shot and prods at that. He misses it, fortunately, goes through to the keeper. No run, no wicket, more importantly, from England's point of view.
Jagged a long way off the seam, didn't it?
Flirting with danger there, Denley.
There was a lot of daylight between bat and ball, actually, in the end. So
it's just as well it moved as much as it did.
Good ball from Wagner there. Probably the best one he's bowled.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
About time, one would say. He's in his 11th over. He should be.
And he's bowling relatively straight. It's been good to see that last delivery get a bit of movement.
So Wagner in again, left arm over the wicket. This one's just short of a length, and Denny's able just to sort of sway backward and let it go past him and over the stumps through to the keeper quite safely.
But I mean, the good thing is that he has made this adjustment this over, where his line's a lot closer to the body than it was in the previous overs, which means Denley's having to make conscious decisions about whether to play each ball or not.
And if he does go short, it'll make it that much harder for him because he can't just stay inside the line.
Yeah.
We saw him get hit trying to duck out of the way of that previous delivery. And if Wagner can bowl that bouncer that doesn't quite get up, suddenly Denley gets himself in a tangle.
They brought a short leg in for this one, so but this time he keeps it outside off stump. It's about 5th stump, and again Denley is completely uninterested in doing anything with that. And it's through to Watling. Watling had been kept busy always round at the moment. Yeah, you would have thought they wanted to give him a bit of a rest.
He got that 15 over break at the start of the innings, but then since then he's had Santana getting the ball to spit out of the footmarks.
I'd like to know. He must have had to catch probably about 30 to 40% of the deliveries.
I wonder how much of this game he's been on the field for.
Good short ball, sharp one over Denley's right shoulder, but again he's able just to sort of sway out of the way of it and let it go through. So one more ball in this 57th over of this innings. Neil Wagner so far 135, 130, 129, 131, 132 his speeds in this over.
Yeah, very consistently mid-80s miles an hour, sharp-ish.
Yeah,
but not express.
Yeah.
He rolls in past the umpire again, outside off stump. Denley does play at this one and just pushes it out towards extra cover area where it's fielded, and that is yet another maiden. England still 88 for 4, still 176 behind.
But, I mean, the positive part is 57 overs in, and it's a good effort for a team that at times has struggled to, I guess, concentrate for long periods and particularly not scoring many runs. I'd say it's a sign of evolution for the team as well, that you can play in these circumstances.
This pitch is a lot easier to do that on than a lot of the pitches England have been playing on, particularly, those West Indies pitches had a lot in them.
Yeah.
The Sri Lanka pitches were turning considerably. English test pitches for a number of years now have been doing plenty, and I'm sure we'll see lively pitches in South Africa. We certainly have over the last few years. A lot of pundits have been saying that they expect the South Africa pitches to be like not really, not over the last few years.
If that's the case, yeah.
So Santana to continue into his 23rd over.
I mean, there was a test match at the start of last year that almost got called off in Johannesburg between South Africa and India because the ball was bouncing all over the place.
Yeah. There was a pitch in West Indies for an England test match, wasn't there?
That was many they did get called off at Sabina Park.
Yeah, it's atrocious.
Ooh!
But Stokes has a bit of a waft of that one, expecting it to come back, but didn't. It went straight on with the arm, and BJ Watling got himself into a strange opposition to take that. He was almost sort of taking actually took it beautifully.
He took it and then wasn't too bothered whether he fell over or not.
Santana in again, very wide outside off stump, so wide in fact it's gone straight past the wicketkeeper, past the slip, and it's running down to the boundary for 4 byes.
Over the line!
Oops, wrong jingle.
The ball went
come through.
It's really harsh on Watling. That rolled.
It was one of those grubbers, like that you call them, right? Just
It did, yeah, never got above. Look at that, never got above grass height.
wow.
Look at that. You're never going to stop that.
Tell you what, if he had stopped that, I would have been very, very impressed. He almost got his foot to it.
Yeah.
It was almost kind of like a five-a-side goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And actually, firstly, it was very, very fine, though. Even he wasn't able to get down and stop it. He's very, very fine.
Leg slip's very fine too.
So, Santana in again. Stokes firmly forward defensive shot. And just pushes it out into the offside. We're just watching this. No, we're just watching that last. The grubber. Look at that.
Little grubber.
In fact, it just about went over Watling's foot. It was that low. Ben Stokes is back onto his stumps and just firmly pushes it out into the offside to notch up another dot ball.
England have brought the deficit down to the psychologically important 170 mark.
Is there any reason Ben Stokes got one covered sleeve with tattoos and the other one's kind of like half covered?
Oh, don't ask me about tattoos.
Oh!
Well, that one didn't get up. That stayed so low. It missed everything. Bounced off, I think, Ben Stokes' right foot and ended up being caught by a leg slip. Clearly,
it's down the leg.
No one appealed or anything, so clearly
it's down leg side, but it's just...
yes.
Oh,
no,
the bat.
off the toe
Right,
end of the
toe
bat.
bat.
That might not have been the worst LBW shout if
Yeah.
you missed
Yeah.
that. Because it's almost going
It's
under.
right off the bottom of the
almost
bat.
going under the stumps and probably hitting leg. Ben Stokes a lucky boy in that over. It's a good over from Santana.
There's a variable bounce that signs the pitch slightly
It's tiring a bit, isn't it?
challenging the bats. And then,
here we have an interesting one.
Yeah,
Kane Williamson.
Yeah,
New Zealand's
only recently cleared to bowl.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? This is Orson Welles. I'm speaking for the Mercury Theatre, and what follows is supposed to advertise our first motion picture. Citizen Kane is the title, and we hope it can correctly be called a coming attraction.
Kane Williamson.
Batting average of 52 or so, bowling average of 40. A genuine all-rounder, Kane Williamson, apparently.
So what is he? Left arm?
No, he's an off-spinner.
Off-spinner?
Quite flat off-spinner.
Right arm.
Right arm off-spinner. Quite flat, quite accurate. Sort of undercuts the ball a little bit.
See if he gets his ring field.
Yeah.
He's a captain, he can consider himself, actually, in this situation.
He's occasionally been called for a...
So he trundles in. Very full delivery. Denley just strides forward, strikes this beautifully through the onside. Fielder gives chase, pulls it up just before the rope. They have an argument over who's going to pick it up. In the end, one of them does. And they've jogged 3 for 3. We haven't had one of those for a long, long time. And England down underneath the psychological 170 barrier, 167 runs behind now.
Yeah, Kane Williamson action has been called into question a few times. He's been temporarily banned for a couple of occasions. On the most recent occasion, he was banned pending testing and cleared said testing, which was done.
He's got a very bent arm, hasn't he, I have to say? Because that's probably why he's been called. Anyway, he's going round the wicket to Ben Stokes.
What could possibly be a last over before lunch?
Field. He's got 2 slips. He's got a short leg in close to Ben Stokes. An extra cover on the offside, and a sort of a short cover, I suppose is what you'd call it. Good ball, good length, and Ben Stokes gives it complete and utter respect and just prods it down the wicket.
I'm just going to tweet from Eon, where a more poetic Irish translation of "There is no run" is "Nil rath ar bith."
This third ball from Williams is a full toss, and Ben Stokes has just stroked that into the leg side outfield. He's scampered after it, and they've run 3 for 2 runs.
Yeah,
all of a sudden we're galloping along.
1 minute GPL warning. We've had 3. We've had 3 entries. You have 1 minute.
England galloping on to 97 for 4. Will they get to 3 figures before lunch? A generous bowling spell from Williamson here. Oh,
somebody sat on the remote, and we're about to watch some accidental golf.
There we go.
We're back.
Well done, not Fred.
You didn't miss much as a no
Anyway,
run.
it was a dot ball, unsurprisingly. This one keeps very, very low. It's right on his off stump, but Ben Stokes as his want, has gone right back onto his stumps and just pushes it back down the pitch.
By my reckoning, it is now midnight UK time, so this should be the last last ball before lunch.
And again, a much fuller delivery, and this one has come off the inside edge past the short leg fielder, and they've just ambled through for a single to finish the morning session. So England end on 98 for 4. If my maths would work, it's about 160 behind. They've taken the figures off, which is great. This session, so we've had 31.2 overs, glorious total of 43 runs. The rather important wicket from an England perspective of the skipper, Joe Root. The over rate's been 15.5, which with Santana bowling is the sort of thing that you would expect. And an express run per over from England of 1.38.
Yeah, I think the important thing from England in that session is the one. Obviously, I think I think not Fred's right. They probably should have looked to be a bit more positive at times, just nudging the odd single around. But on a slow pitch, they're content to wait for the ball to come to them. To some extent, most of the runs have been when the bowling has been straight, a little bit too straight, but successions of maidens from Southey and de Grandhomme and Santana, just the one over from Bolt, and if he's unable to bowl for the rest of the day, which is not a given at this point, that could be an issue for New Zealand if they're shorn of their main strike bowler. But I think England can be
quite pleased with that.
Reasonably pleased with their morning's work, and we'll leave them and New Zealand to contemplate all of that over lunch. Have we got any final tweets before?
Just a final one from Martin. So many underperforming. Well, I'd say Root's probably the only one, but you'd probably give a bit of call out for the Kiwi bowlers as well.
Yeah, very disciplined on this pitch that isn't offering a great deal, certainly to the seamers. A little bit of variable bounce coming into it. It's not going to get any easier for England to bat on, one would think, and obviously the second new ball will have to be something that England are wary against in the next session. But as I say, England sticking to their guns at the moment and
doing well,
trying to eke out this draw and go to Hamilton with the series win still possible. But we'll get off here, refresh ourselves a little bit, play some archive footage. In the meantime, join us again in about half an hour for the second session.
So distant, but we often used to say that the English cricket team would go on tour, and what they would do would be simply stay in the hotel rooms. Not all of them by any means. Atherton was famously willing to go out and explore local culture out in